don't like it. I don't think I don't support degrowth. I think it's based off of a false premise that economic growth and the well-being of people and the environment and stuff like that are somehow mutually exclusive, and I totally disagree. I think economic growth is necessary and good for the environment. You can't invest in new technology without the resources and the money and the economic power to actually invest in that new technology in order to bring us towards a renewable future full of nuclear energy, solar and wind and hydroelectric and all of this shit. And so economic growth isn't perfect. Like, it's not a be-all, end-all, right? Most proponents of economic growth are never going to say that economic growth in and of itself is always good, no matter what, full stop, end of story. We don't have to do anything else in society ever. Most proponents of economic growth are going to say that economic growth is a necessary condition to have good living standards. And that's that. That's it. And so you can definitely find countries that have more economic growth than other countries that don't, rank high on well-being, as high on well-being metrics or whatever. But that's not a problem with economic growth. That's a problem with the fact that they're not using the resources to do good things with those resources. Economic growth gives us the tools. It doesn't tell us what we should or should not do with the tools, right? So it's necessary to have the tools. So for example, just to draw an analogy to this, let's say we have a bunch of I will be quick. Let's say we have a bunch of construction workers. They want to build a house. They're going to need tools to build that house. Taking away those tools so they can build that house is not going to lead to a better quality house. That's that. Full stop. So yeah, degrowth sucks. I don't like it. I'm done. Next person can go.
Thank you for being here, Layman. I'm looking forward to this discussion, and we'll see how it goes. Ninetales.
Oh, we were going to invert.
A minute? Okay, we might have to go to Carl first. Okay, we'll go to Carl first. Soyadl, what you got for us?
Yeah, so Ninetales and I disagree on some things, but not this. And thanks so much for having me. I've debated this topic, actually, with degrowth advocate Michael Stass and an expert in mining scalability, Shimon Michaud, among others. You can just quickly plug, you can check out these conversations on my YouTube channel, which is almost qualified for monetization. So go check out Ecomodernist1 at Ecomodernist1. That's the Ecomodernist channel on YouTube. Now, back to definitions, your favorite game. Fundamentally, degrowth is the objection to unrestrained capitalism and capitalism's priority of profit over other very important metrics of quality life and human survival. I'm not a traditional degrowther. I beef with traditional NGO complex degrowthers like Jason Hickel and Think That Through. They just made their name on dunking on tech solutions. They're really selling the idea that this Chobani branded solar punk vibes and socialism will save us. So you just defeat capitalism and all our problems will be solved. So others like Our Changing Climate just ride this populism of degrowth, and they repackage this tech bro hate, which kind of got solidified under the banner of eco-modernism. But I'm not a traditional eco-modernist. Most of them are actually in favor of laissez-faire economic liberalism. And some are outright hostile to the concept of social freedom and socialism. American capitalism itself has the base requirement for profits. You got to have more cheeseburgers, bigger SUVs, no trains, fast fashion, no integrated densified housing, only suburbs for the middle class. Unlimited freedom, where every family is a self-contained island of prosperity fed by our corporate overlords. There's no question that saving humanity means that's got to change. So this is my position. It's when you restrain capitalism, you're doing degrowth properly and correctly. It's not a straw man degrowth or tech optimism, but the synthesis of the philosophy of ecological limits and hard reproducible science.
Okay, thank you for being here, and I'm sure we'll get into it as we go. Next up, Ninetales, what you got for us?
Okay, so I'm not sure if maybe I missed some of what Soyadl said, but I am going to go through what it is one more time just to make sure we're extra clear.
Yeah, it was what I sent you. So.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that both sides are seen here. So it's the idea that we should prioritize sustainability and human well-being over economic growth. I'm pretty sure you did cover that part. It comes from the French word décroissance. Décroissant? I have a terrible French pronunciation, even though I'm Canadian. Which was coined in 1972 by social philosopher Andre Gors, first emerged as a district movement in theory in the early 21st century, so that was obviously in France, and entered the English language in 2008. And yeah, we advocate and argue that we need to vastly ramp down production and consumption as a response to climate change. So there's a couple of extra facts. Human activity has surpassed what's known as the 5 out of 9 planetary boundaries. Those 9 boundaries, just to go through them, are global heating, plastic, chemical pollution, biodiversity loss, habitat loss, and nitrogen and phosphorus pollution. So we can get into what those 5 are, but the key thing is 5, and 2 of those have yet to actually be quantified. So we could have already surpassed those and not have known it. The U.S. has the highest GDP in the world, but scores behind several countries on well-being indicators, including Panama and Costa Rica. So it's very clear that productivity is not directly linked to well-being. As a response to a climate catastrophe is an ideology which necessitates its own, or capitalism is, did I say that? Capitalism is an ideology which necessitates its own growth. Wick, stop telling me to move on. I'm doing it already, okay? You're just going to interrupt me.
Mansplainer.
Clearly, as we surpass more and more of these planetary boundaries, the unsustainability of capitalism will prove itself to be true, and the only discussion left will be what to do about it. Instead of asking how can we keep doing things the same way, we should be asking how we should do things differently. That's my core ideology about all of this, as well as being experimental and actually comparing things we try to a hypothesis. For example, agriculture is the leading cause of us surpassing these planetary boundaries. At the same time, the massive scale of food production causes tons of food waste, just a ridiculous amount, to the point where it's very clear that if we scale down food production, we would both waste less food and then need less food. So the scale of food production is in and of itself a problem. I'm going to try to reduce some of these down. So I think there's a growing pessimism in young adults, and they want to see something change. They're feeling more and more lost and disenfranchised. And having a movement which actually provides solution will prevent them from, lashing out in less directed ways. And productivity is just simply a model to exploit us, but we can get into that because I'm going to keep this short. By the way, I am on Twitter. That's where I'm most active speech-wise, at M9 Scarlet, letter M, number 9, Scarlet with 2 T's at the end, and twitch.tv/9tails Cosmic Fox. You just spelled it all out. There's no numbers in that or anything. And 9tails is spelled with Tails at the end, not the other way around. I have the worst social tags, so just sorry about that.
It's fine. Thanks for being here, and I'm sure we will get into the details as we go. I know that my chat may be a little somewhat confused, but we'll get there. We'll get there, I promise you. But we got to get to Staxioms next. Staxioms, go for it. What you got?
Thank you. Yeah, so I got responses to most of what you guys said, but I'll wait until the body of the argument before I really delve into that. I do have an opening statement that I wrote up beforehand, so I'll just read it pretty quickly. So I believe in green growth over both unregulated capitalism and also degrowth. I'd like to preempt a few arguments. First, if my opponents ever claim capitalism writ large for consumption rates and increases in GDP and net worth, they'd have to explain how a different means of production would fix that. If you're a socialist, you'd have to explain why workers would not want shiny things any less than other people do. Second, political viability. I think it would be almost impossible to justify that your proposed world is more even similarly politically viable than ours. You would have to contest with that. Third, a common phrase I hear is capitalism needs unlimited growth with limited resources. I have an answer to that, but before I give it, I'm curious how my opponents would explain that the US has had exponential growth that has rarely faltered or declined. If it is with limited resources, how have we been able to grow unlimitedly? How have we patched the ozone layer, decoupled carbon emissions, and increased median household earnings while maintaining a steady increase in GDP?
Okay,
And that's about it.
And with that, Staxiums,
Nice.
thanks for being here, gang.
Yeah, no problem.
We got a few sides here, and with that, I'm going to open it up. The floor is yours, gang. What do we think?
I'm so tempted.
Do
Yeah,
it.
I can.
I raised my hand.
Oh, you did raise your hand. Yeah.
Nine
Oh, go
tails.
ahead.
I kind of hit it though, so I'll make sure I'll raise it higher next time. So I think the answer to Staxium's question is that, while, maybe to someone who doesn't consider an ecological framework for capitalism, everything is peachy dory, we have absolutely ravished our planet to do any of this. And we can get into the exploitation thing too, because that's talking about more about workers. But we couldn't have had the growth on the scale that we've had at the rate that we've had without massive changes to the landscape and stuff like that, which has made the future of capitalism rather bleak. And I don't think it's gonna, the way that you've described development and productivity now is exclusive to capitalism, or is it going to play out like that in the future?
Sure. I think my. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So to ride on that, I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at history and specific technological advancements that the growth of America. We're talking about the post World War II point where the UK was in decline and America, blam, shot into the sky. We had
Totally.
automation, development of domestic coal resources, but most importantly, the growth of massive amounts of machinery augmented labor, and those people for that labor came from the Haber-Bosch process, which is using gas, methane, to do nitrogen fixing. So we have huge amounts of unfixed nitrogen now in the atmosphere because of this chemical process that is doing nothing but extracting fossil fuels. And it's so bad that we thought there was going to be a food shortage because of the gas crisis last year. That, you could just keep looking at big changes to our ecosystem in the face of the planet. Literally go on the Google Earth history slider and look at the Pacific Northwest or Indonesia and look at the massive deforestation. This is obvious how we have accomplished exponential growth. It has come at the cost of our planet of resource extraction.
But that's based off of where the demand is, right? So if you can invest in new technologies that are affordable and that are a high enough supply where it's affordable to the average person, then you can still have economic growth and solve these environmental issues, right? That's kind of my issue with this framing, is it's we can point to instances where populations at large are demanding things that involve hurting the environment in some way. I don't think Stax and I would have any disagreement over that. I don't think most pro-growth people would have any disagreement over that. Most pro-growth people support carbon taxation for this reason, right? So, this isn't what I'm trying to find is an argument for the degrowth position rather than an argument against certain forms of types of markets growing, right? Because what we want to do is we want to change what the demands of the society are to things that are more sustainable for the future.
100%.
And you can do that through investing in new technologies, which you can't do without economic growth. I don't know how you do that, how you can have again, more electric energy, more EV cars and solar panels and wind and hydroelectric and all this shit. I don't know how you can have all this shit without having the capital and the resources to invest in that stuff to get people to produce it.
Yeah, and I want to chime in here as well. Sorry, I'm just going to throw myself in here. I just want to say that, of course, neither Layman nor I would ever claim that the way that we grew, especially during the Industrial Revolution, was positive, it was good for the environment, right? 100%. Obviously, we can look at all of those things that you claimed. I would never try to disagree with those. What I think we should also recognize is that we have had so many benefits to our also basic well-beings, mortality rates, life expectancy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So many things. So how do we find a middle ground between these two? How do we maintain our mortality rates and life expectancy rates that shot through the roof after the Industrial Revolution, while also repairing the harm that we did to the environment? And what I'd like to point to is the fact that we have done less harm to the environment over the last 10 years than we did 30 years ago, and yet we are growing faster than we did then. So that, I feel is a challenge to sort of your worldview, the paradigm that you're choosing to view the world in, where how is that possible that we are doing less harm while growing faster?
I mean, it's It's great.
Ninetales, you're muted on your end. I don't know. Go ahead.
So this is actually where I very much want to point out that while medical science was not as advanced at those times, so life expectancy was down because there's a lot of things that we just couldn't treat, and we were coming out of eras where we thought that diseases were like some sort of magical thing in the air that we couldn't actually comprehend with science. So a lot of life expectancy has to do with that. I will point out that when it comes to diseases and stuff like that, as the climate breaks down, there is a very clear link to an increase to things like parasites being around us, scavengers, diseases, and stuff like that. Because it's well known that biodiverse ecosystems, especially the ones around us and within our environments that we live in, they reduce pests and they reduce disease.
Yeah, sorry. None of us is challenging whether or not climate change, climate change,
a lot of bad shit.
radical. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of.
Well, my point is
climate change deniers.
Let me clarify then.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, but my point is that we could have even better life expectancy if we weren't constantly facing the onslaught of Mother Nature throwing parasites and pathogens at us, because other parts of Mother Nature, before we destroyed it, already took care of that for us.
Right. Your point is that with less climate change, we would be better. We would agree with that. But I'm saying that does not necessitate degrowth. That's what the argument is.
Well,
you're saying that degrowth necessitates.
But even if we degrow, we still know all the things that we know medically, and I'll pass it this way.
Yeah, why don't we?
Well, no. Hold on.
Okay, Layman, and then I want to roll it back. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to say we do know that stuff because of investment and because of economic growth. You have to invest in research and development and stuff like that in order to get those kinds of results. And you can't do that without economic growth. You have to have the resources to be able to fund those kinds of projects so you can learn how to fix new diseases and shit as it comes along. You're also going to have to invest in research and development into new technologies that people are so medical facilities and stuff like that can do this in a way that doesn't emit as much CO2, right? The only degrowth would suggest that we would have to get rid of that to some degree. And I just don't understand
or even maintain. I'm not comfortable with maintaining. I think that's the best argument that you could give, that degrowth implies maintaining the status quo. I'm not comfortable with that. I think that there are so many strides in medicine and research and development that we could make as a human species that betters our lives exponentially.
Carl,
and I just don't. Okay, Go ahead. Sorry.
Carl, and then Ninetales. Go ahead.
Right. Well, we're running up against two little assumptions around how we frame the question. And I'm so happy that we're doubling down on capitalism, investment. Everything good that has ever happened came from capitalism. Everything bad that ever happened came from communism.
Wait. No one's saying that.
Okay. But Layman clearly said you must have capitalism to do any progress.
No, I said you have to invest. Do you think that is capital I know socialists who are in favor of investing in stuff, right? I'm not talking about some capitalism versus socialism dichotomy. I'm saying that you have to have resources in order to invest in new research.
Bringing this back, we do not need infinite growth to do that.
Wait,
right.
Okay.
This is the straw man of the fucking straw man.
Well, no, but this is the question: is where is the boundary? When does it become a degrowth? And I say, when you restrain production because of the sake of the environment, of efficiency, because you can't survive unless you restrain this excess growth, you're doing a degrowth.
Just to bite the bullet here.
So degrowth is when you tax carbon? That's degrowth?
Yeah, I mean, has a carbon tax
That's
happened?
the argument?
Where has a carbon tax happened and been successful and not been exploited by capitalism?
Hold on. That's the argument that you're making, is that carbon taxes are
it's not enough.
I want to
rephrase saying it's not enough.
Please, I want to bring this
I
back,
agree it's
right?
not. Well,
I'm not saying it's enough. I'm asking him if that's degrowth.
Sure.
And he said yes.
Degrowth isn't just a single policy. I think we would all agree.
Yeah, degrowth. He said no. He's not saying a single policy, right? He's saying that anytime this is what it sounds like you're saying, Carl. It sounds like anytime you restrain a market in some sense, no matter what the goal of restraining that market might be, that's a process of degrowth. Because see, I would support carbon taxation on
knowing that it would.
knowing that
it would
and
harm
then
that
using
market.
that money to invest in other parts of the economy.
And
like
I would
within the
also
economy
be
or
in
something.
favor of a lot of regulations
grow
and
the
stipulations to make sure that the environment is like
Protected.
treated in beneficial ways. But I don't think that makes me a degrowther because I'm still in favor of growth and new
Is Justin
technology.
Trudeau a
I just-
degrowther?
No.
Correct, exactly.
Justin Trudeau is happy to export fossil fuels. That's the difference.
Yeah,
He wants to move out of
like if-
fossil fuel consumption, though, right? He's incrementally moving out of that.
Let's
If-
go to,
if-
let's
if we're
go to-
We're
talking-
interested in
I'm gonna-
ESG investing for like oil and coal production. Like we're interested.
Sure.
Look, being confused isn't an argument. You got to stop weaponizing
know-
your confusion,
Me? Are you talking to me?
I don't know what.
because that's not what we're saying.
Who
That's
is
not
who is confused? Who is
both of you who are strawmanning us right now.
I'm asking questions to try to get to the veracity of your
trying to
statement.
understand
I
what
don't
the
understand
worldview
it.
is.
So I'm
To be
trying to
honest,
understand it.
okay, let's start with one truth. Whataboutisms aren't going to get us there because, as Wick pointed out, it has nothing to do with single policies. Secondly,
Nobody.
when we say sustainability, I think this comes into my unofficial question that I posted in the group chat. Is capitalism sustainable? And I think for me, and maybe for Soyadal too, we want to see a model of capitalism which you can actually hand down to the next generation, and they're not worse off than we are.
I'm in
What?
favor of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in favor of regulating capitalism.
But you're not going to
I'm
get it
not
through green growth.
laissez-faire.
You're not going to get it through green growth.
Why is that? Why is that? Could you explain that?
Because the current mechanisms behind capitalism, which currently lead to production, must also destroy ecosystems. So it's basically the form of taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We need
let me make
reform
sure-
behind the methods of production, and we need. In fact, I'll go as far as to say we need to get rid of private property to actually have any chance of returning ecosystems back to the point where we can mitigate disaster. Why? Because
What do you want to replace?
we
private
know-
property
Hold-
with?
let-
we
let her-
know-
Let her finish. Let her
Okay.
finish, and then I have a question, perhaps, to maybe move this forward, and then I'll let you two in on it. Okay.
Sure.
Cool. Finish your thought.
Thank you.
Ninetales.
We know that climate destruction is linked to the ecosystem destruction. And this is like on both terrestrial and aquatic land, is linked to the furthering instability of the climate. We have already destroyed so much land for the purpose of capitalism. We need to convert a lot of it back to naturalized environments in order for it to serve that function of re-ascertaining stability. We cannot manufacture this stability. We don't even know how.
You don't have to kill the economy to use land.
Nobody's
more
saying to
efficiently.
kill the economy.
Well, let me ask the.
You don't have to
degrowth-
degrowth to to more
you do.
efficiently use land.
Let,
You
let
need
me.
to deregulate zoning.
I'm gonna.
Yes, you do.
I swear to God, my question will help. I promise
Go for
you.
it.
Okay, just let me
I
ask my
believe in you,
question
Wick.
So much
because
shit.
I want to know, right, from the degrowthers, and I want the degrowthers and only the degrowthers to answer this question, please. Right? What are the maybe top 2 or 3 policies you advocate for today to get us to what you consider a degrowth or a better way? Like, how do we get from where we are now to where you want to be? What are like the top 2 or 3 things that you think we should do today or start working towards today? What do you think?
Great question, Wick.
Good question.
Top to get us to degrowth. And for me, let's be clear, degrowth is a part of the solution. So I know we're going to say bait and switch, but I am in favor of all these solutions, more renewables, more nuclear, but the number one thing, and you look at the IPCC, the number one is eliminate fossil fuels. So what does it take to get there? We can add on top of, with competing with these non-emitting resources, we can add on top of that a very severe, very rapid carbon tax. We are talking, start at $25 to $30 per ton of CO2. That's like 7 to 10 cents per gallon of gas, and have that double within 3 years. That's a good one, and that will hurt the economy. We are talking limiting the growth of the economy by 1 to 4%, let's say. So just there, where we have to restrain that. We need to have some kind of justice in the developing world. We need to majorly shift our incentives, shift our focus of energy deployments from the developed world to the developing world. And I don't know how you do that without a giant socialist gift to countries that have little to no resources.
Okay, Ninetales, I'm curious to your answer. You mentioned abolishing private property. If I may ask, who's not abolishing private property, but reducing at least the development and things. Who gets to decide, and where would you decide if you were queen of the world, right? Where would you decide to destroy the private property of, or to reconvert it to nature? Whose private property gets reconverted?
Well, this is why this is hard to answer for me, because it's not as simple as name your policies. It's going to be policies which do X, Y, or Z, and particularly I want us to focus these policies towards the rich. So those are things to keep in mind. So the first is land reclamation, as we've stated. I'm going to say a bonus fourth, just to say I agree with Soyadal, just that way we're clear on that I'm not, distinguishing myself.
Just to be clear, land reclamation is from tenants or from landlords to tenants, correct? Or are you talking about land reclamation for Native Americans?
Oh, right, because I'm thinking of it in land reclamation and where feasible, where it doesn't compete with those ideals.
No, what does that mean?
Yeah. No, what is land reclamation?
What's land reclamation?
Yeah.
What is that?
Both of those things I agree with as a leftist. So I'm not saying I don't want those. What I'm saying is the focus of what I'm saying is naturalization.
Okay, what does that mean for
what
my audience?
Policies? Wick wants
think she means
policies.
rewilding.
Absolving private property so we can naturalize it and turn it back to a biodiverse ecosystem.
Right.
You want to expropriate private property and then get rid of it and just plant shit there.
But not just turn it over to the tenants, because you no longer want the tenants to live there either. You want it turned over to.
No, I actually think that people who are willing to live in a naturalized property could have rights to land stewardship and tenancy there.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a naturalized property and the property we have today?
Yeah, I'm trying
to
difference.
Massive agriculture and the way that we rape land, so that way we can have monocultures. You want every property to have farms? This gets into my second thing. This gets into my second thing, and that is a massive reduction of agriculture. It's the only way we can do this. It is the only way we can do this. And so that will involve either land reclamation, as I pointed to earlier, or mixed culture farming, where we particularly convert things to biodiverse farms. I know that's not simple. I know that's not simple. I haven't even gotten to my third. Jesus, fuck.
Sure. Yeah, no, just I'm just.
Everyone's chomping at the bit. Finish your point, Ninetales. Go ahead.
And this third thing is a reduction. Okay, so. This is twofold, again, because it needs two different things to work, is a system that instead of mining and resource extraction is converted to recycling and reusing. And on top of that, where we deal with manufacturing on an independent small scale level. So people can privately own their manufacturing businesses, but they cannot be corporate hegemonies.
Okay, just to summarize for my audience, so we're clear. As I understand it, the 3 points in reverse order.
Would you like me to summarize just to avoid conflict?
Let me translate. Let me translate for my audience, because
he knows his audience.
I'm getting nervous. Just gonna say
different language. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
You can correct him.
A transition from extraction of resources to recycling and reusing. Second, an abolishment of a reclamation of land and a massive reduction in agriculture and a massive reformation of how we do agriculture. And third, the abolishment of private property.
Not complete abolishment.
You also missed agriculture, reductions in agriculture.
No, he did. He got that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Literally just now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Wick.
It's okay.
At least I don't even thanks for having my back.
Can we go over these?
Thanks for having my back at least.
Sure. Is that an accurate summary, Ninetales?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to let everyone else deal with that now. We're going to start with Carl.
Amazing. Before we pass it on, I want to say I want to take issue with the implementation of number 2, that reduction of agriculture. I agree that
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy, by the way.
I agree we can't simply win on efficiency, on food use efficiency. We can't simply win on going back to nature. We have to deploy technology in this case. We have to deploy the the GMO eggplant, we have to deploy golden rice, we have to deploy vertical farming and high intensity hydroponics. I know that you're gonna, because this is our disagreement. This is exactly it. But these
No, we're
are
not
both-
disagreeing. We're not
Okay.
disagreeing. I'm agreeing with you that like there's even so much wasted tech out there and stuff like that all you need to do is understand electrical engineering or 3D printing and stuff like that, and we can start diverting stuff away from landfills into productive, smaller scale, like local scale lines of production, means of production.
Just get a
Okay.
3D printer. We can print
And
our own
now,
food.
and now, I want to turn it over to the growthers.
Yes,
to,
Great.
Get one.
So we have I wrote them down. So first thing that I want to say is, Soyaddle, get over here. You're not in favor of degrowth. You're in favor of green growth. When it comes to eliminating fossil fuels, we want to do that. I can't speak for laymen, but I want to eventually eliminate coal and oil and fracking. I think that those are destructive to our environment. I'm in favor of wind and solar and nuclear. I think that they are the way forward. I think most companies agree with me. I just don't want to go into a recession so that millions of people have to die. I want to
Same.
do it slowly and make sure that we're keeping track of making, like, I want to make sure that people don't just lose all their jobs, lose all their money, suddenly don't have access to resources, but also make sure that we're keeping an eye on the environment. There are ways to do both. And I think that this is the fallacy of just like, it's the
Fallacy
false
of degrowth.
dichotomy.
The false dichotomy. Yes.
False dichotomy. It's not just these two options. We can do both. And we have been doing both pretty well for the last 5-10 years, I want to say. We decoupled GDP from carbon emissions. That's huge. That's amazing. That's all I want to say.
And-
We should be excited about that.
Soyaddle, did I not hear you mention something about climate justice, where we actually like fight against the injustices of capitalism? Because wouldn't that be counterintuitive to the idea of letting things take as long as possible to actually fix themselves and stochastic reform?
Before we get into it, let's go to layman. I want layman's crying. Let's let layman get in there too.
Yeah,
Then we can talk about justice and climate justice.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify my position on fossil fuels. Like, yeah, I think it needs to be an incrementalist approach, right? Like, if we ban like everything related to oil and gas and fossil fuels and shit right now, because we don't have the supply of renewables yet, that we need to invest and grow the green economy so it can outcompete the fossil fuel industry. And we can do that through various subsidies, government, private investment, whatever it is. I don't give a fuck. Whatever works. Okay. Whatever works. That's what I would support. I do eventually want to wean off of using fossil fuels because they're bad for the environment, right? But this is the green growth position, is we have this competitor to this sector grow so this sector can stop growing. So if this and the degrowth side, it sounds like you guys just want this, and then but degrowth would also have to apply to this too.
I have
we're
a
talking
question
about categorically shrinking the economy, right?
I have a
But no,
question
we need this sector, this part of the economy to grow so this sector can shrink. That's what I want.
I have a question really quick. I just want to jump in real quick. I have a direct question for you guys. Let's say we get off of fossil fuels right now. We fully eliminate them, and we realize that we do not have the energy to power a few hospitals. What would your answer be to that?
Yeah, what do you do?
Divert that away from defense spending and defense.
What does that
Energy.
mean?
Energy.
What?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
How much energy is so we just stop. Okay. Let's say we do this. We stop building every missile. All of those companies go down. Okay. You know, I can't name any. Raytheon, all of those, right?
Can I just give
all
a much better?
We still don't have enough energy
That's
because
enough.
we rely
That's
so
enough.
much on.
No. You just don't know what you're talking about. Right now, do you know how many nuclear reactors are in the Navy submarines right now? You know how many nuclear reactors? I'm pretty sure it's about a couple.
One. I thought we just.
No, it's like it's hundreds.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We start by repurposing.
So wait, hold
that,
on. So just
but
to
I
be
know
clear,
it's not
just to be
enough.
clear.
I know it's not enough.
For hospitals, that's easily enough to run a hospital.
Okay, but like there's more things than hospitals. So then like you.
But that's why we scale down production.
But then you've got
production. Production is the next biggest
Slow down
user.
production,
Gotcha.
you lower the
So we
supply,
scale down-
and you increase the price of everything, and then poor people can't fucking afford energy and shit. They can't afford
let's-
food.
You don't let them
grapple with
increase
all of
price
it.
of things because we're talking about justice.
Let's grapple with all of this.
That's not
let's
an
just
answer.
let's just say price isn't even an option. I agree that would be a problem. But let's say price isn't even an option. We scale down all the production, okay? We no longer have resources for I'm going to be biased. I'm going to go towards where I know things about. I work for a dental office. I work for dental software. Okay. It requires a lot of resources to make sure that a dental office is working efficiently, cooperatively, and that we're constantly making suggestions to the dev team to make sure that like things are producing in comprehensive ways. We shut that down, right? Suddenly dental offices need about twice the amount of hands and they can't get as many people in. So people start getting sicker. What would your response to that be? Are you just claiming that wouldn't happen, or are you saying that you do have an answer to this?
How do you solve the labor shortage without growing
Thank
the
you.
economy?
Can I, Carl, and then Ninetales.
Free education.
What?
And I can buttress that. Let me buttress on top of that. Let me buttress on top of that.
Stop. Ninetales, give it a go.
No, he's not wrong, because what this adds to is when we have a small scale maker economy where we have standards that we try to apply both either nationally or internationally, but we ultimately we give people the means and the tools to, for example, automate that process for you with the resources that we diverted from our wasteful economy.
Resources
Wait, okay.
diverted. What's wasteful?
Okay, so let's say we nail down defense spending. Okay, that's $1 billion.
I don't agree with the defense spending thing at all.
Of course, I don't either. But like, I'm willing to bite this bullet. I'm fine with it.
Carl,
You're so scared of dropping spending.
No. I'm saying let's get a comprehensive list of all the things that you would scale down.
We got it.
And all the lives we lost.
They're trying to answer your question. Stoxiums, not Stoxiums. Fuck, Carl, go.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to let this dental office optimization problem go. What are you're reducing the cost of what? Let's talk about it. The time of the dentist, the amount of materials wasted, and the amount of time and money spent on ancillary labor. Is that it, or is there more that I'm missing?
Also
a big thing,
right?
A bunch of things. So for one, so like their entire billing system goes down if like basically that entire, let's just say that software goes down, right? Every record that they have of every single patient would go down as well. They wouldn't really be able to have access to that because they would have to personally download that data. So if they don't have access to that, meaning that they don't know how much to get paid, how much certain patients offer money, and almost all these offices would eventually close down.
Okay.
So
like that feels like the necessary conclusion to what you're suggesting, and I don't know how to get away from that. And and maybe you're saying that wouldn't happen. I don't understand why not.
Well,
that probably would happen.
You were asking about alternate modes of alternate economic modes, and what if this was just like what if this was single payer government healthcare with education funded by the government?
How do you get the resources to fund these things without economic growth?
I want to be clear.
With the money.
I am in favor. I am in favor. No, wait, like money.
Yeah, that's what you need. You need money to be able to give people free shit. Yeah,
this is it's like arguing with a 2-year-old sometimes.
No, really. You started with money doesn't matter, so you're eliminating the military-industrial complex isn't an issue. Like, no,
we never said money doesn't matter.
Well, okay, that's great. Then you dismantled your own argument. You dismantled your own argument that taking away the military-industrial complex didn't matter. You wanted to focus on energy, and we can turn submarines into nuclear reactors that power hospitals. Okay, so now we get into this problem, and now money matters. And now, if we take all that money from the military, then we fund education and free healthcare. We've got a solution to this. Problem.
A few things. First, nuclear. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Before you go too far, I want to let other people in here as well. I am Layman's got his say, so I want Ninetales to have her say, and then we'll go to you, Staxiums. How's that?
That's what I'm looking for, Wick.
Who's next? Me or Ninetales?
Ninetales, then Layman, then Staxiums.
So in regards to failures of systems and costs going up and stuff like that, a huge problem that we currently have are the fact that we have so many different corporations which make various components of a system and try to put it together with their own ways. And usually that creates a lot of issues, which leads to an increase of error. The funny thing is that when you have somebody who develops the entire system from the grounds up, because they're what's known as a full stack engineer, then they can develop certain redundancies and stuff in there like that, knowing where the failure modes are and actually test that, which is much harder to do when you buy a component from this person, a component from this person, a component from this person, and pay an engineer to do that. Somebody who actually makes the thing themselves will already want to do that because what you put out there will reflect the product that you make.
I don't understand
I don't
what that
get it
means.
either. I'm sorry.
When you design a system, you have to incorporate the fact that certain failure modes will exist. You either build up redundancies or other systems to check for that. Sure, that increased costs, but in our current system, that only increased costs because these are usually compartmentalized processes. First, you have the developer design it, then you have an engineer look over it, et cetera, et cetera. When this all comes down to a single person, and yes, single person people can do these things, then then not only do you reduce costs, you have that person has a personal relationship with the product, and they will probably naturally want to make sure it works very well, because when people innovate, they tend to innovate so that way things will work.
So this, as I understand it, is an argument against connected
Against the scale
chains, right?
Is it against,
against the scale.
currency? Just as
different
currency
I
in
need a
general?
translator.
No. This is against the globalized scale. I'm
globalized
saying that,
economy, interconnected economy, where you have different institutions, organizations, companies all kind of put their fingers in the same design.
what I'm saying is that the bigger these things get, the more waste they produce. It's the same with any system. It
Wait,
generates
no.
more waste
Economies
or
of
more-
scale, that works the opposite. It becomes
That's
more
what
efficient.
capitalists say, but that's not actually how it plays out if you look at things.
Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah.
So you're claiming that economies of scale don't exist. That like basically once you scale up,
That the
the
capitalist
percentage-
ideology behind it is failing.
Okay,
us
wait,
yet.
hold on. We can throw capitalism under the bus. I'm fine with it. I don't like whatever gets us to the point. And by the way, I'm in favor of free education. I'm in favor of single payer healthcare. I'm a soft dem, baby. I'm a liberal. Like I love all this shit. Like I like I guess what I'm saying is like there's room. Oh wait, I'm trampling over Layman. It was his turn.
I mean, I wanted you to speak there. Yeah, I'm so fucking lost in the conversation.
I'm a little too.
It just jumps to so many fucking places.
I have a question.
Well, hold on. I want to say something. I don't
Okay.
want to shut up this whole panel. Okay.
Okay.
What
We
about
can-
the
we can save it.
money?
Oh my god.
Anyway, so yeah, so I just want to say I strongly disagree with this idea that like you're gonna just austerity the fucking military and then you're gonna be able to afford all of the renewable shit that we need. Or not, maybe not renewables specifically, but like all of the stuff that poor people need and shit to survive. First of all, if you do, you're not going to be able to do that unless you fucking just completely abolish the military or something. You would need even additional resources to that in order to replace what like markets are already providing for people and have this like top down, more like planned version of doing this sort of thing in order to redistribute, this part of to do all this like degrowth shit. So like, I personally do not want to compromise like national security and national defense for that shit. There are entire world powers that want my country dead. Like, no, thank you. So
Typical neoliberal paranoia.
Oh my
typical
god.
neoliberal paranoia.
Brain is getting invaded
Stop.
We're not gonna get derailed on
the.
the efficacy of national.
I have a question for the growthers here.
Go for it.
Growthers.
Yes.
Now, I only want the growthers to answer for now. The degrowthers, which dirt. You'll get in on it, I promise. Okay. We try these implementations of green growth where we kind of incrementally approach these things, but we are on a clock in a lot of ways, or at least that's what is said, that we are on a clock. We have a deadline. If it becomes clear at a certain point that we are not going to reach the goals that we need to, or the metrics that we need to hit before this deadline, how austere are you willing to go? What are you willing to do or sacrifice when it comes to growth in order to meet these deadlines? Are we talking population reduction? Are we talking just a total shutdown of oil? Like, what are we talking here? Like, assuming you believe in climate catastrophe, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you willing to do, if you must, to reach to prevent that from happening? Go ahead.
That was for the growthers, right?
Yeah, I
It's
can.
for you. Yes.
Sure. So, like I said, what I want to do is I want to, because right now, millions and millions of people rely on oil and gas to survive. People will die of heat stroke in the summer without AC. They will they will freeze to death in the winter without heating. And those people are often relying on oil and gas. So what I want to do is I want to be able to increase the supply of renewables that these people can afford, and the people that develop these
Hey,
homes.
say you
and
can't
these
do that in
facilities.
time.
Yeah.
You
He's
can't do that in
engaged with the
time.
hypothetical that this is impossible.
Yeah,
That, like,
you
this just
cannot
doesn't
do
work.
that in time. The climate catastrophe.
I'll bite the bullet.
You have to.
I just
cut these down, yeah.
I'll bite
what's
the
inevitable
bullet.
is inevitable, right? The best that we can do is to just minimize as much harm as we can in the meantime. That's the best that we can do.
But
If you ban oil and gas, people die. If you don't ban oil and gas immediately, more people will probably fucking die too, right? Like you have to be pragmatic, and you have to look at the here and now, and you need to see what can you actually feasibly do right now to minimize as much harm as you can.
Right.
Like,
I'll bite the bullet. Sorry, I'll bite the bullet. Look, if green growth actually is not feasible and does not work, and what we actually do need is degrowth in order to save the future of the planet, and the planet will actually become unlivable and all future generations are wiped out, yes, I would be advocating for this. I would say, people will die. That sucks. But the future generations are saved. Yes, I do not think that is like, I'm engaging with your hypothetical, Wick. I know that's the reality that the degrowthers live in, and I am saying
why is
that is not
wrong,
reality.
Is what I'm asking. Why is that reality wrong?
So okay, let's say we just ban all
oil
energy
and gas,
right
all
now.
fossil fuel.
We do it all right now. They're like, well, we got nuclear reactor submarines. Okay, gotcha. How do you convert those? You find the experts. That's the answer. Yeah, plug them in. Exactly. No, exactly. That's like legitimately your answer. It's like, well, it powers something, right? People will figure it out. Let me tell you something. If my job suddenly went dark, and they were like, well, like maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not a good example because I work in tech, but it's unfeasible for me to do my job. Right. But I also benefit people. Like, don't laugh at that. Like that's a legitimate benefit service that I'm providing other people, is being able to track your patients and doing it in an efficient manner.
Your billing processes get executed on time and promptly. So this is like, let me take this example and use this to break down.
Wait, no. It's also a lot. Wait, hold on.
Right.
Billing
No, I know it's a lot.
process is
It's a lot, but you, as you said, a significant part of the service you provide is this accounting, the billing, the insurance claims, the adjustments, all of that reconciliation process.
Right.
But
it's also about assessing team and finding accurate ways to do that.
Welcome to your neighborhood dentist. Can I have your file so I can check the signatures? Okay, thank you. Let's give it to the doctor, and they will figure out your treatment plan. Like this is like the biggest steel man for degrowth is that, well, throw it all away. I don't want to throw it all away, but I don't see why it is a bad
saying
solution.
that he can't do his job without throwing it all away, though, right?
Wait, what job? His job?
Hold on, the job that he's referring to. The job that he's referring to.
But also the doctors can't do their job either.
Oh, can't?
Correct. Cannot.
If the patient is the person who owns their medical information, they can't
let me do this. Let me do this. We shut down all energy right now. Half
Whoa,
of the computers go dark.
man, come on.
We're not doing that.
Wait. What are you advocating for then? What are you advocating for? I thought there was a time limit and you had to do it right now.
I'll do it.
If you're saying let's do it,
maximum degrowth. Let's say 4 to 5% hit of the economy. It'd be like COVID every year.
Wait, 4 to 5% on the GDP is reliant on our energy?
No. That's my growth. That's my degrowth number. This is answering Wick's question for my side. For me personally, I know that Ninetales might go further. I'm like 4 to 5% would be brutal. It would do something.
Oh, wait. So all you're advocating for is a small recession in order to get us on track? I don't think that
every year. I want to put this into perspective because I think I understand it, and he could correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh wait, you're not talking about a 4 to 5
decrease during the COVID lockdown.
I see what you're saying.
All the time. That would be all the time,
Gotcha.
every year, a constant reduction till we meet
the
metrics we need to.
What are you advocating for? I thought that it was just discontinue coal and gas right now. Is that
Fossil
not what you're
fuels and
saying?
shit, yeah.
Fossil fuels, yeah.
A reform,
That's
systemic reform of all facets of the economy.
But what does that mean?
Yeah,
Well,
give me something.
We
Give me
can
something.
talk about
Like,
it. We can talk about military, internationalism, transport.
Why?
No more automobiles. No more suburbs. Densified urban
First
housing.
off, I'm in favor of all that. You know that. You said I
Well,
was a
let
yippie.
him
Like, I
finish.
love
You
that
asked
shit.
him.
Hold on.
Hey,
Yeah,
stop. You
hold
asked
on,
him
hold
what
on.
he wants
Fair
to
enough.
do.
Fair
Let
enough,
him
fair enough.
answer what he wants to do,
Fair enough. I'm
and
sorry,
then we'll
Wade,
get
you're
into
right.
it.
You're right.
It's
You're right.
all of these at such a rate that it really, really hurts. That's
The
what
problem is, like, everything you just said, Carl, there's like pro-growth ways to do this, right? So for example, the reason why so for
Yes.
example, all the litany of fucking spacing regulations and zoning regulations and shit that are making us sprawl out land, never fucking ending, that is destroying potential GDP growth. Doing
Absolutely.
all of that shit.
Yep.
They're not doing this because they want the GDP to go up fucking forever. That's not how NIMBYs think. Okay? NIMBYs
They
don't
want
give a fuck
their
about that.
pockets. Yeah.
They want their personal preferential
Right.
lifestyle, irregardless of the fucking economic conditions around them. They don't give a fuck about that.
And when
NIMBYs
their
don't know
property
anything about
values drop because you have social housing right next to their golf course, what happens?
No.
When their property values drop.
This is actually the most internal disagreement in YIMBYism, in my opinion. Is
Okay.
God, we're on
yeah,
such
it
a
is.
tangent,
So
but I
so
do love
listen. So no, first of all, if you upzone the shit out of like suburbs and shit, you build a lot of like nice new apartments. If you say social housing, it depends on what you mean. But if you just let people, market, non-market, whatever, build new housing, there is no evidence that in and of itself lowers property values. The reason why
Or
property
growth,
values
GDP.
the reason why the reason why property which is growth, yes, the reason why property values go down around areas that have a lot of different like apartments and shit around them is because we usually put those apartments in places like that have like fucking bars and concerts and shit next to them, and those places usually produce a lot of fucking drug dealers and shit. A lot of crime happens in those specific venues. They just happen to be around the dwelling options, but the dwelling options aren't the problem.
Okay, I wanna toss it over to Ninetales real quick. Go ahead.
So I'll agree that a lot of, not all of my prescriptions, but a lot of the prescriptions we made can work with the growth. Actually, first, I wanted to address both what Layman and Staxium said about, well, we have these resources, how do we reallocate them? Well, first of all, in regards to basic needs like heating and stuff like that, it will require some conversion. However, a lot of the heating systems already installed in buildings are sufficient and just require like an actual conversion of the energy source. Like you take the thing that heats the air, convert that from gas to electric, not the entire ducts or anything like that. So it's really not as big of a conversion as you would think. Secondly, so I was going to go further into that. I'm not going to, but the point being that we can go from oil and gas to electric energy solutions for all of our basic needs. Secondly, with regards to nuclear subs and or transformers, these aren't like cryptic things. Sure, there might be like certain standards that the U.S. Navy uses that we don't know, like different amounts of phases, different voltage standards, stuff like that. But those can be converted. We have the technology. We have the power as the people. We don't need the system to do this for us. We can figure it out. So my final point on this is that the difference between green growth here and degrowth is that let's say that we're drastically wrong about the scale of climate change, which we have been up to this point. The science is always lagging the reality, and that things are far worse than we realize it is. And I can explain why that would be, by the way, if you need. Then it's probably going to turn out that we already need degrowth because we've already surpassed this threshold where green growth cannot save us.
You're kind of doing like you're kind of doing like what climate deniers do, but from the radically opposite left-wing position.
Yes,
you're saying that like all the climate scientists are wrong, all of the consensus is wrong,
No,
and it actually means that there's
You're correct.
More.
Wait, no. Do you know?
I said the science is lagging. My exact words. My exact words.
If it's lagging, it means that it's wrong.
My exact words.
Ninetales, I agree with you.
No, it doesn't.
Ninetales, I agree with you. The science is lagging. I'm going to put heavy quotations around that.
Yeah.
Here is what's going on, okay? Scientists are like, in 5 years, there's going to be a deadline. We're going to like, if we don't completely fix the environment, things are going to go to shit. And then we get to 5 years later, and then it's fine. You know why it's fine? Is because we've made heavy improvements between now and that 5-year time period. They were drawing this linear scale, and we got a little logarithmic. We got like our carbon emissions.
You're wrong. You're just
Our
completely lying
carbon
about
emissions
this.
have been completely decoupled from
You're
GDP.
completely lying
Oh,
about this.
they've stalled. So stalled.
What
the
is stalled?
West
Carbon
the
emissions?
Carbon emissions. The West decreases
Yes.
carbon emissions 3% per year. Do you know what the rest of the world does with carbon emissions? Increases 3%
Why is
a year.
Yeah.
How is this a challenge to what I'm saying? I don't understand.
Because
They
you're
aren't going
saying
down.
it's
My
rosy
GDP
and
our
it's
GDP.
getting solved. And our GDP, yes, our GDP is decoupled thanks to financialization and financial markets.
And by the way, that isn't how the science is lagging. I need to be very specific here so that way the audience isn't misled. The science is lagging in that it makes predictions about where we'll be and thresholds, and it sets thresholds. We surpass the thresholds and no one does anything about it. Then we start reporting on the news and people don't link them back to that threshold. So it's very easy to see things the way you've seen them. I'm not going to lie about that. But as far as
what's your hypothesis on what happened there?
Well,
Like,
let
did the scientists
let
get it wrong?
Nine she's about to tell us, I assume.
Okay,
Go ahead.
fair enough.
Yeah.
So a lot of this comes into, we keep on finding out more and more information about things like ecosystem stability and stuff like that. One of the things that we now know is that, and this is a systems ecology perspective, so I'm going to try to be as very colorful about this so that way everyone's on the same page, is that ecosystems are something known as quasi-stable. They're not fully stable or completely unstable. And think of this like a ball in a cup, right? So like if I move a ball in a cup and it falls out, that's stable, but there's some amount of energy I can put into that that makes it unstable. So quasi-stable systems are kind of like a hill that has like a divot in it and then a hill. And then at the bottom of the hill is full system degradation. There's no biodiversity or very little. Something has completely dominated. With where we're at right now, the ball has already gone down several of these ridges that we call climate regimes. And we've already experienced biodiversity loss that shows us that this is happening as we reach these milestones. The things that you call thresholds are really just milestones. And there are already habitats which are considered to be in a different regime that's less stable, which means that they can't handle as much energy before they go into an even lower regime. And when they go into that lower regime, our climate stability is lost as a net effect.
What was that responding to?
I feel like that was just your whole count.
Because the reason that science is lagging is because scientists constantly underpredict what the data actually means for the future of climate change.
So they did
our predictions are things always happen much sooner than scientists predict.
So
you couldn't be further from the truth.
So the issue
scientists
isn't
are wrong.
that. Yeah, that's what you're claiming.
They're wrong,
No,
right?
I'm not saying they're wrong.
They're
Wrong would be
misinterpreting the data. They're misinterpreting the data.
They're misinterpreting the data. They're
there's a
doing
difference
something wrong.
between lagging and incorrectness.
So
I don't-
they're not doing a type 1 or type 2 hypothesis.
wanna point
Just
out-
their timeline was wrong.
Carl, can you help?
Yeah. I want to point out that before the show, we made an agreement that none of us were climate deniers, but here we are, like picking and nitpicking over each other's evaluation. And
Well,
I'll
no, to
jump
be
right in the
clear,
middle.
Stacks was saying
I'm
that
a
him
climate
and
denier.
I were not climate deniers.
Okay.
That's what Stacks
I'm
was saying.
between Ninetails and Stacks on this because IPCC is very clear. IPCC Working Group 1, Physical Science Group, is the people who track, like, okay, what the fuck is happening here? Or maybe it's Working Group 2. I'm sorry. One of those groups, 1 or 2, talks about, okay, here is where our climate is at today, and it's pretty good in terms of its predictive ability, but we're not doing anything about it. We had things like the special report on 1.5 where it said we're supposed to increase our nuclear deployments by 300%, and what did we do? We shut down 30 gigawatts. Why did we shut them down? Because of oligarchs and capitalist companies fighting against nuclear, manipulating the German political system, and causing a panic And
Wait, hold on.
So
I
your
just wanna
problem
make
is
sure-
less competition and
Wait.
less.
You're blaming the nuclear catastrophe that we had, like in Germany, where they shut down their nuclear program, on capitalists and not on raging environmentalists who said that it wasn't efficient enough.
That's
NIMBYs.
almost
funds
always
them?
the
Who funds
reason.
them?
That's almost always the reason systems
I-
fail. By the way,
I
Wait, I'm
agree.
sorry. Capital-
That's the only button in your head. You just go capitalism.
No,
It
I'm
contributes
telling you.
Anytime there's a
Seeds.
question.
Yeah,
C
because
question.
when you cut corners, then the systems that are designed to keep things from failing
Wait, if I
don't
could
work
think
as
of
well.
if I could think of one nuclear like explosion or like nuclear catastrophe that happened, what do you think the first thing is going to be on my mind?
Chernobyl.
And
If
what
somebody
regime
wants
was
to
it
build
under?
new
It
nuclear.
was USSR. It was the USSR under Sherman.
Yeah,
It was
so you're the one. You got the communism button. You just projected.
No,
this
I
is the
didn't
third
blame
time.
communism. I
This
didn't
is
blame
the third
communism.
time you
Asking you a
projected
fucking
on us.
question.
No, that was a counter to your thing. I'm
No.
blaming communism. I'm blaming.
What does it have to do with
stupid
us?
Environmentalists. Well, no, I was.
He's not
you were
saying it has
you were
anything to do with
blaming
you. You're not fucking
capitalism,
listening to what
and
he's
I'm saying
saying.
this would happen under communism too. The issue isn't a mode of production. That's what I'm saying. I'm not hitting
No.
communism button.
No, it wouldn't
I'm not
happen
blaming
under
the communists.
communism. It wouldn't.
Communist
It wouldn't
It
happen
did.
under
Wait,
communism.
It did though.
No,
It
no,
did, though,
no.
right?
Why?
USSR is a terrible example.
Why was
Okay,
that a secret city? Tell me. Why was that a secret
What?
city?
I don't know. I don't know what you're asking.
Because
Yeah, I
they
don't
were
know.
both
I don't-
producing, because the US and the Soviet Union were both producing weapons of mass destruction and used incredible amounts of secrecy such that they denied anything had happened until they were caught red-handed. And it was a disaster because of the secrecy. Watch HBO Chernobyl. It was a great program.
No, I agree.
Okay.
Can we
So-
can we
I'm
tie
saying
this
the
back
issue
into
isn't
degrowth?
capitalism.
Yeah,
like,
let's,
the
let's-
issue is
let's-
We're
build
gonna tie
the
this
was
back
the
into
competition
degrowth.
I agree.
We're so
of
far off
capitalism
the
and
topic.
communism.
I'm
How
throwing a flag on the
convenient.
play. Throwing a flag on the play.
Fair, correct.
Flag on the play.
Let's get off.
I want to
this.
get back
Yeah.
to degrowth versus green growth. here.
I've
I
got
want to stop. Right. I want to make sure, right, that we kind of get into the nitty gritty. So I guess to the degrowthers, to Carl and then to Ninetails here, why aren't we doing enough? Like, why is it necessary to scale back agriculture or to scale back all these things? And do you not recognize that these are going to have a cost in human lives? Like, scaling back agriculture is going to make it harder to feed people, at least in the interim, while we transition, right? While we transition from what we have now agriculturally to what you want to have agriculturally, there will be a time where people might not get enough to eat. How do we deal with that? How do we handle that? And
There are already places
that
that have food deserts, right? Like you could create more. So you
I
probably.
wanna-
could.
I
Well,
want
capitalism
Ninetails
already
and,
kills
Carl to
people,
answer. Go
so
ahead.
we can.
Yeah.
Capitalism
Well-
already kills people. We can do better.
There we go. So yeah, you know,
That's vague and meaningless. That's
well,
not what we asked.
It
But
makes
not
let
what
it
we
him
vague and
answer. Let him
meaningless,
answer
but
before. Yeah.
when you have a holistic view of the world, you don't simply credit capitalism for the innovation or blame communism for Chernobyl. You look at
Not what
it
we
within
did. Go on.
You look at it within the context of systems and interacting systems. So yes,
And it's
we
still
had
capitalism.
tremendous growth post World War II because of scientific innovation and development, and we need to scale back agriculture, but. And here's my line, but
Why?
not at the literal cost of human lives. That means that we have to have policies that are informed by the challenges ahead of us. Meaning that
Like
we
what?
have, like what? Okay, let's say
What's
that,
an anti? What's a policy that is going to categorically make GDP go down? That is going to that is going to be good for the environment and doesn't hurt
and not
people?
kill people.
Like in the way like
abolishing intellectual property.
abolishing intellectual property.
Wait.
That will
Abolishing
destroy
intellectual
a lot
property is
of-
going
a
to.
lot of GDP right there.
I don't. Okay. Walk
How
me,
will that?
walk me
no,
through how
stop,
that.
stop, stop, because I have a question. How? Okay, that will destroy GDP. I grant you that.
I still
Oh,
get to
well,
answer
obviously
the
do
question.
that.
I still get to answer the question. Plus,
You
I
do,
really want to
but
answer.
I want Carl to answer this.
I know you do, but I have an answer too. Fuck off, Wick.
Okay, then both answer your question. We
she
acknowledge
wants
it will
me to
destroy the
further.
GDP,
Yeah.
but how will it help the situation at hand?
Soy,
How
just-
will
just
abolishing
soy.
on intellectual
Right,
property
right.
No, don't
help
answer.
means of
The
production,
environment,
and that's literally it. Is intellectual property is the enemy of the individual means of production. When knowledge is freely shared and we can all do things, yes, with my 3D printer, it makes so much more possible in order for the production of GMO plants, with the production of alternative means of growing plants. It will explode in innovation.
It also gets rid of planned obsolescence and enables something called the right to repair movement. The right to repair movement is a movement.
So much information.
Is a movement repair. Right. Same. Well, we have to respond to all the information you're giving us too, right? So, the right to repair movement is a movement led by owners of commercial equipment, for the most part, like farmers owning tractors and stuff like that, and they're using it to be able to actually repair their tractors instead of having to send it to a repair person, or to keep that repairing it done in a local environment instead of getting it shipped out somewhere, just to have it shipped back so it can work again.
Layman, are you against right to repair?
I'm not even really entirely sure what it is.
Great,
I've never
that's
heard
fine.
of it before.
I love right to repair.
Well, you have to get rid of intellectual property to basically have it be ubiquitous.
I'm not okay with getting rid of intellectual property.
I don't know.
If you want right to repair to be ubiquitous, you have to get rid of intellectual property. I'm not done. Proprietary technology is how they keep people from repairing stuff.
Wick, it's your show. Don't let her interrupt you.
I'm aware. Layman, why is getting rid of intellectual property a bad idea? Before you answer, let me kind of explain. Let me translate, because I think there's some translation errors going on here. So Carl's argument is that by getting rid of intellectual property, proprietariness and patent law and all that it will free up people who would otherwise be prevented from developing, researching, and building things that we need to be able to innovate more and do it more. Because right now the argument is that intellectual property stifles innovation. It stops people from being able to develop and work with these different things.
It's really stifling capitalism, huh? These regulations are getting in the way.
Why is that wrong, in your opinion, Layman? Why is his argument?
But let me preface: this policy doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's a lot of supporting policies that must occur. Go.
For sure.
Okay, go.
I'm just trying to, like, a lot of this shit is just like there's like a million like hyper idealistic shit being thrown all at me at once. So it's really, really hard to keep track of everything. So if I'm responding to something, like, a lot of what I'm going to say is me trying to figure out what the fuck people are saying. It's not like, don't interpret everything I say as a fucking counter argument. I just don't understand like half the shit people are saying sometimes.
You just can't handle a 1-2 punch.
No, we don't. We haven't researched intellectual property on our degrowth argument.
Intellectual property. Why aren't you okay with getting rid of it? Go ahead.
Well, I don't think I'm okay with getting rid of the idea of like copyright and shit like that over like products and artistic and literary works and shit like that, right? Like, I think that should be protected by law. I think that's an extension of the right to private property, which I know you guys are fucking against, and that's fine. But like, if we don't have to violate people's rights and just allow fucking rampant theft and shit to happen, first of all, I don't even know how that would solve this issue.
I don't either. I don't get it.
Like, I have no idea what the evidence would be that, like, well, if we just don't let people privately own their own copyrighted works and shit, how that's
going to download a car.
But no, you're talking about how like we need capitalism to have all this innovation and stuff.
Stop. I've never once used the word capitalism in this like entire fucking conversation. I've actually not used that word once. Yeah. Because I don't like to speak in vague, amorphous bullshit. I like to actually say concrete things that I think would be good. Specific individual things. Most of which, I know fucking socialists who agree with some of the shit I'm saying.
Absolutely.
This isn't some fucking capitalism versus socialism retarded fucking shit that I'm coming at this from. I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm coming at this from. Stop fucking saying
socialists agree with capitalism sometimes.
Capitalism.
I can't believe you know a social democrat. That's incredible. Do you like a real one in the wild?
I don't.
Can I
anyway.
can I just knit?
Anyway, well, no, I
Jesus.
did. No. So
He
all I'm
hasn't
trying
actually
to,
answered the question yet. So
yeah, I didn't. Yeah. So
Go
like,
ahead.
fuck. Sorry, I just fucking blew a gasket. God damn. But like, no, like, I'm not in favor of like violating people's rights and shit if to save the environment, right? What we have to do is we have to save the environment within a framework that actually protects people's rights. The reason why I want to help the
Consider
environment,
copyright to be an actual right?
copyright is downstream from the right to private property. So even
Right,
though
we wanna get rid of
copyright
that.
might
Can
be
we
applied,
bring this back to
so
private
even though
property?
so even though copyright might be applied imperfectly, that doesn't mean that I'm willing to sacrifice a right that protects other shit that is good and that makes our societies as good as they are in order to do that. I'm not violating people's rights for that for one policy that might have a positive effect. What I want to do,
please click
foundationally,
this textbook Mott and Bailey.
Yeah.
what? How is this a Mott and Bailey?
I don't know how that's.
What am I Mott and
at all.
Baileying here?
What's his Mott?
Copyright,
What's the Mott?
private property.
No, I'm not saying that. You guys are the ones bringing up copyright, and I'm saying
make sure you're not.
that the reason why that is protected is that it is downstream from protecting the right to private property. That's like if I said, I don't think that you should just steal people's house, that the government should just steal people's houses from them and turn it into a fucking manufacturing facility. And I said that's bad because it's downstream from the right to private property.
Thank you for your feedback.
This is an analogy, dumb fuck. This is an analogy. I'm not saying this is your position. I'm analogizing to your position. So this is like if you were to say that, and then I said, well, that's bad because then we would have to get rid of the right to private property in order to be able to actually do that expropriation, or we would have to limit in ways that would set a bad precedent, and then you called that a Mott and Bailey. That's not a Mott and Bailey. A Mott and Bailey is when I say some extreme shit, and then you're like, what the fuck?
Like,
that's an extreme position.
It's
No
not
private
this.
property.
No, but you're thinking of slippery slope. That's what you're thinking of.
And this isn't a slippery slope.
No, I wouldn't say it's a slippery slope either, but that's
said-
close enough.
He said no.
I would at
private
least
property.
like grant you some philosophy. Look. This is getting so off track. Here's what I would say though. Here's what I would say. Okay, I am. Yeah, let's reel us way back in. I feel like when I come with conclusions about ways to make the world a better place, especially environmentally, there's a lot of things that I would do. I would go carbon taxes, but I would be honest. I think that carbon taxes are going to hurt a lot of working class people because that dips into your paycheck. I will be honest with that. I'll be upfront with that. When I talk about like LVT or like fucking zoning, I will be honest and say, yeah, you know what? Your houses will decrease in value. That will happen, and you will lose potential money that you'll have. I will be honest with all these things, and I will take all of these specific policies and go, okay, gotcha. Here is the issue. Here is the problem, but I think it's worth it given this benefit. I feel like when I ask you guys what you would do with degrowth, you go, there are no downsides. It's all upside, and every like this will fix every basically. You got the socialism button, or I don't even know what you're advocating, just anti-capitalist button, and it just fixes every issue that you've got below. And it's amazing how you're like, well, I read one book by Marx, so that's gonna do it all. That's gonna do it all. And I feel like, okay,
right.
Go ahead.
I love it.
Go ahead.
I mentioned one fallacy that was really, really well executed. Thank you. And now everything's a fallacy.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time.
It's my time.
I reclaim.
You're not reclaiming it. It was my time.
I'm supposed to be
Nine Tails
right
time
now.
now. Go ahead.
That's fine.
So, I think the key takeaway here that we really should be debating is knowing what we know about climate change and how capitalism is causing it. It's very clear science at this point. It becomes clearer and clearer every year. How can we justify leaving this planet to future generations? I'm not even going to have kids, but like, could you imagine your kid coming to you and being like, I don't think I want to work. There's literally no job I can get where I'm not being a part of the problem for a future I don't want to be a part of. I think we're absolutely fucking over future generations with the way that we're selling them short by saying, no, we can just do incrementalism. They are going to riot if we don't give them something better.
good. I want them to.
Yeah, we want to give them something better. That's not.
I want social
not
justice.
opposing
I
anything
want
you said.
environmental justice.
But if
I
it
want
doesn't
equal
go far
rights.
enough, then it's not better. If it doesn't go far enough,
No,
it's just
if it
but if it
goes,
doesn't- the problem is-
it's definitionally better. Incrementalism is definitionally better.
So far, you've been talking about the same thing capitalism already does, repackaged, and then you act all helpless, like, but I can't keep from protecting the workers from this. You give the workers the means of production. And I'm not even a Marxist. I'm not, no, shut, let me finish. I'm not even a Marxist. I'm not even a Marxist. I'm a Bookchinian. I'm a social ecologist. I'm trying to fight for... Well, you said I read one book of Marx. Go fuck yourself. You're fucking wrong.
Okay.
You must enjoy being wrong.
I'm so sorry that I
don't
labeled
know
you
what
as
that
a
is.
Marxist
What's
instead of
that?
Butchinian. I don't care. I am tired of this of the capitalism button being pressed anytime we mention any social ill in this country. It is exhausting to talk about actual substantive issues that can be resolved through actual policies that can be employed. And I feel like some of you guys have had some great ideas for ways that we can solve these issues. But like come on,
You just acted like we had none. You just acted like we had none.
No, I said eliminating fossil fuels is
did.
absolutely something. Amount of money we spend on helping developing nations.
Your rhetoric is all over the place.
Yeah, it's how we do these things.
There
that we're
are
disagreeing
some
on.
that I really like. Some of you guys, some of the things you said are absolutely insane.
Okay,
Of course.
$10. Let me make my money.
Mention something.
Let him make his money.
Just first of all, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're on Twitch or Kick, hit that follow button. Throw me bits, gift me subs on Twitch or Kick if you like this content, if you want to see more of it, or if you hate this content and don't want to see it again, tell me, but also sub to me so I can see what you say. On Super Chats, $10 from Zephyr Hash. Can someone show me evidence that communism/socialism is better for the environment? Is there a socialist/communist country that pollutes less because of their economic structure?
It's a based-ass question. Almost all of them are petrostates.
You must love questions that start with, is there a communist country?
I love the ones that start with $10. I love the ones that start with $10. I love
That's my answer.
The $20 one more, right?
Such
I
a
love the
base
$50 one almost the best, right? So anyway,
$100 even better.
yeah,
No,
sure.
Is there a capitalist country that doesn't pollute?
That's not what
No.
we're not.
No, there's not. No. I'll agree. There's not. Yeah, I'll agree. There's not. Correct.
There's no
There are no
modern
states that
communist
don't.
country that
Correct.
avoids trade. I mean, maybe
Yes,
Cuba
I agree.
a little.
I've never blamed
Cuba's
communism.
worst, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
we're
never
not- we're
blamed
not-
communism. I'm not saying the issue is
And
about
we're just
production.
responding to the super chat. Calm the fuck
fighting
down.
against ghosts.
I don't. There must be someone else in this
So
conversation who's
basically
blaming
the
communism.
answer to the super chat is there is none.
Okay, so going back on incrementalism, that seems to be the crux here.
Okay, go ahead.
I think because we've seen how, like, sure, we have houses where we do climate control and stuff like that, but we actually wouldn't need a lot of the energy that we do today for climate control if climate extremes weren't getting worse and worse every decade.
Yeah, of course. We
Yeah,
should spend
obviously.
more and more
That's
of
the
our
problem
money.
with incrementalism.
invest.
It only demands more capitalism the
No,
less
it
we
doesn't
do about it.
demand more. It demands less given doing nothing. It's
No, because
better
by the
definitionally.
time anything's done, we're just going to be in a worse off position.
It's just such an
So
argument from incredulity. It's like whenever we say something very, very specific.
That's all
and
you've been
pointed-
doing. Stop
Wait.
No.
No. What
Oh,
I'm
wait.
saying is, we can. It jumped. Like, let's say the climate problem, right? Jumps from, we'll just say a scale, like it goes from 1 to, it's going to go from 1 to 5. And I'm like, I think we can get it from 1 to 2. And you're like, but it increased. You didn't even solve anything. I'm like, look at the gap between 2 and 5. I feel pretty happy about it.
Right.
Let's keep moving. Let's keep doing shit. But like, just because it's getting worse
Right.
doesn't mean we didn't do
So
anything.
please let me answer.
Okay.
Because the problem is that we need to take it to 10, because if we just bring it to 2, and then the actual disasters themselves, where the actual livability has gone down exponentially, because when the metrics that we quantify climate change with aren't actual direct measures of well-being, but I guarantee you, as the biodiversity around us decreases, our well-being will decrease
No one's
exponentially.
disagreeing with
Yeah,
this. Of course I
Climate
don't.
extremes.
I
Well,
don't
that's
think
what.
it too
Okay,
is
now
bad.
listen. Now listen. when this change is exponential, we need an exponential response in the other direction, not a linear one, not a minimal one. It's only going to the rate of change is the rate of change is only going to get worse.
But like
meaning that we
citation
need
needed
more.
for mine is linear and yours is exponential.
Carl,
I don't know why ours can't
heard my
solve the
name.
issue.
It was used in a relative sense.
I want to reset. I want to
I was-
re-attack Stax's point from one. You say, oh, you just love to hit the capitalism button all the time, and so you like our policies. You really think they're all good, but what I want to tell you is this. Anti-capitalism is the power-up. It makes all of these policies more effective.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, like the two that one.
Are you seriously, Layman? Let me ask Layman something. Layman, are you seriously so afraid of having to buy a thrift store shirt instead of buying a brand new one?
I bought this from a thrift store.
Wait, hold on.
So then it's really not going to be that bad for you.
Socialism is not one thrift store, okay?
But you're right, it's not. But it's also not as bad as you're making it out to be. First of all, capitalism.
Bad.
Capitalism.
You don't even know what I think is bad.
I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Can you?
I'm not done.
I have to ask you something first. Can you please respond to something I'm saying without using the word capitalism? Can you? Because I haven't used the word capitalism at all.
Sure.
Right.
So what I just described with thrift stores is closer to the range of sacrifice your average consumer will have to make by implementing. Yes, because people are going to take on the means of production.
No, but that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for people to shop way less. I'm very critical of fast fashion.
But we're talking about the stores that sell new shit disappearing.
Okay, gotcha. How do
we're
you
talking about
incentivize supply and demand and get everyone in favor
reappropriate the resources?
Fast fashion. Wait, hold on.
Yes, but we agree that there needs to be different we agree that the demand for different goods and services needs to change to combat climate change.
Yes,
it's how we go about that we're disagreeing on.
But I feel like all of these
Stax and I think that economic growth is compatible with this. And you guys don't think that economic growth is compatible with this.
Because it's not compatible with ecological growth.
Yes, it is. Because ecological growth requires growing a green economy.
Capitalist growth has never been compatible with ecological growth. It necessarily relies on...
Hold on.
Let me finish.
Why has it never been? Go ahead.
It necessarily relies on land exploitation and resource extraction. And waste. It's just inherently wasteful.
We don't survive without resources.
Layman, why is that wrong?
We have plenty.
We don't survive without resources. Yeah, we have plenty because we have this incentive to grow economies further.
So it's time to
do is what we have to do is we have to reinvest. We have to invest in new technologies. A lot of the shit is new. The supply isn't there. So you have to invest in that shit so we can increase the supply of that shit so consumer choices can change in a way that is affordable for people and that doesn't fucking hurt poor people and shit.
I have great news for you.
Can't just go buy a fucking solar panel from somewhere. They can't just go buy a fucking electric car from somewhere. You have to invest. I
have great news for you then.
I have great news. You can just hit the capitalism button. It's solved.
when you take the resources that currently rely on exploited labor and resource extraction and producing new goods rather than recycling them, it requires far less investment of resources to get there. This is why I'm talking about getting rid of something like a production line.
What's exploitative labor? Is it all labor?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Okay, we can't get rid of all labor. If we get rid of all labor, we can't get the resources.
We can change the way it operates. We can change the way it operates.
Yes, by changing demand, which both of us agree with.
No,
Saxians, you're just getting mad at this. You're just getting mad.
I have a question.
Let's talk about the. I think
I have a question. I have a question for Carl first, and then Ninetails. Because first of all, Carl, do you agree with this? Basically Ninetails' point here?
I don't exactly agree with it being predicated on extraction. I think that extraction is a necessity of production. However, I think that excess extraction is motivated by the requirement for overwhelming profit.
Good enough for my question to
so
apply to you.
Can I ask something real quick? So you don't think that we could have a production-based economy that relies solely on recycled goods?
No, we can't. First of all, we need enormous amounts of energy to recycle. Second of all, the goods that we've created so far are only marginally recyclable. And third, in order to
You're into renewable energy, Carl. I know this.
Yeah, but like conservation of mass, you're going to lose something.
All of us
Conservation. Conservation of mass. You don't. Oh my god.
There's going to be something lost in the process every time you recycle.
Did you know that a lot of the things we burn?
Off of
My
question might solve this. My question might solve this.
Did you know that a lot of the things we burn have industrial uses?
Stop. Ninetales and Carl.
So to finish this point, actually...
Wick!
Do I not get to ask my question?
Oh, sorry.
Then you can maybe finish the point.
Okay.
I respect you, moderator. Okay. Just remember that in the future. I respect you.
You don't, because you keep talking. Let me handle it. The part of the problem here is you all try to play this game where you're moderating for me. Let me do it. I can handle it. Don't
Actually,
worry.
I want to go next.
I got this. Stop! Stop. Okay. So, what is the argument? And please give them some room to make this answer because it might take a minute. What is the argument that your way is more efficient than the way that we have today? Because that is your argument, is it not? At least for Ninetales, that by reducing reliance on extraction and production in the way that we have now, that your way will be more efficient. Explain it to me like I'm five.
Can I go first?
Go ahead.
So I'm going to bring this back down to ecosystem stability. There are multiple answers, but I'm going to give one concise one so that way we can be on track. Losing an ecosystem, and I know Carl wants to talk about energy, and I actually am interested in what he has to say with that, so I'll try to pass it on.
Answer my question first, then we'll get to Carl. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to chill out. So when we lose ecosystems, we can't just easily bring them back. You can't just regrow them. We know this because we know that they're not linear and they're time invariant. What this means for a system, and I am studying to be a system engineer, so I'm saying these things with purpose. What that means for a system is that when you go from this higher energy to lower energy state, you can't take the same path back that you got to get there. Now that's just generally known in thermodynamics, but what that particularly means is that it will take us more energy to get back to where we started, the longer we wait to actually start that process and up until we actually start moving back in the opposite direction to a higher energy regime. We may not still totally understand the science of it, but there are thousands of things that we can do differently that capitalism currently profits from doing wrong in order to change this. This is why I'm not giving any more of an answer than that, because I could spend forever answering this.
Is capitalism in the room with us right now?
Carl.
Sorry, I've been wanting to say that for a long time.
Carl, answer my question.
I don't know.
Why is your
piano
more
behind
efficient?
That piano behind me was pretty capitalist.
Why is your way more efficient than what we do now? Why is the anti-capitalism way more efficient than the current way?
Say I want a cheeseburger. It's that simple. I want a cheeseburger, and there are 5 stores all making cheeseburgers. If I'm buying one cheeseburger, how much meat do those 5 stores have? They have 5 cheeseburgers worth of meat, right? And let's break away from the 5-year-old. Let's talk about in aggregate, in competition. This is where I'm going with it. So me, one cheeseburger, and 5 stores having 5 times the necessary product, because one of them might be better, one of them might be cheaper, one of them might have like special sauce. This is the explain like I'm 5 version of why single provider per single resource, or hey, you take that meat home and you make it yourself, is better.
Okay, I'm understanding. So your argument, to translate for my audience, is that we have an overabundance of options to cater to us in a market economy that is creating waste, is creating excess, and that if we scale that back and reduce that, right, if we take away these options and we have one cheeseburger place for one cheeseburger wanter, it would make it much more easy.
Yeah.
The excess weight, basically, 5-year-old speak.
Yeah, I will accept chat. Yes, this is incredibly simplistic, but the analogy will apply.
Okay.
Can I buttress that real quick? I know Layman wants to get in, so it's really quick. It's really quick. It's really quick.
Really quick. Then I have to
So-
read my $5 super chat, and then yeah.
So I've actually dumpster dived, and I've seen why food is thrown out. It is far more disgusting than often the food that is actually thrown out. Why we throw food out, like damage to packaging, best before dates, which are not the same as expiration dates, and it just means they might taste a little bit more stale. By the way, add some sauce to it; it tastes so much better. So we can do a lot differently. Over 50% of food I think that is produced, I think it went down to like 45% of food that is produced is wasted before it hits supermarket shelves.
Got you. Okay, Zephyr Hash for $5. Do degrowthers think that? And don't answer this because I want Layman to go next, but this I'm just reading it, so they'll pay me more. Do degrowthers think that companies enjoy storing excess food? You do realize they go above and beyond to reduce waste and excess production, right? Layman,
It's
go
capital.
ahead.
It's capital.
Okay. I'm going to respond to Carl. So my solution to what you just said, Carl, because I think we should syntax the shit out of foods that turn people into fat asses. So I'm 100% on board with the anti-cheeseburger fucking train. Okay. So there's some concession. Okay. But here's what I want to do. Okay. I don't want to just fucking ban cheeseburgers or some shit, right? I don't want to just categorically shrink it. What I want to do is I want to tax it, discourage its consumption, then use that money to invest and grow.
Layman,
In
follow-up
environmental-
question.
Weren't you just complaining about?
Stop. I have a follow-up question because I don't think you addressed Carl's point at all.
Oh, okay.
Can I
And the
please
reason I
address
think that is
his
because Carl's
policy?
main argument in the simplistic way is that it isn't so much that people are consuming this. It's like, again, wanting a cheeseburger isn't what he was attacking here. It was the fact that you have an overabundance of brands all making the same product, competing for this consumer's attention, right? And so you have a waste of excess because this consumer can only ever really choose one, maybe two if they're extra hungry, right? Maybe two of these products. So again, like this taxing and reducing consumption, sure, but you will still have the problem of the 5 stores all competing for the one consumer's attention. So how do you address that?
I mean, you've kind of loaded in why I gave a, solution that discourages the consumption, right? It's like the way that you address that is by changing people's consumption habits just through, you can use social pressure, you can use, incentives, stuff like that. And
but even if they only want
to works is syntaxation. Hold on, sorry. I'm really sorry. Hold on. I can't hear anything. My earbuds just fucked up and now I can't hear anybody. Just give me a second, okay? I'm so fucking sorry.
Okay, to chat though, while he gets that ready, and maybe Staxiums can answer this question.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Because again, even if you reduce consumption, even if instead of wanting a cheeseburger every day, instead they want one every month, you still have the fundamental problem of there being much more production in order to compete for your demand than there is absolutely necessary, right?
You bet.
Here now.
Oh, okay. So again, even
this?
if you reduce, I'll repeat this for you, even if you reduce consumption for them wanting a cheeseburger once a day to maybe once a month, right? Like you reduce that consumption overall, you still have the fundamental problem of 5, right? Of multiple competing entities producing the same product to fulfill the same brand. And it's obviously going to be excessive.
Sure, but I support a VAT tax that taxes it all the way up the supply chain, and it would apply to all companies. I don't know why.
Can I finally butt in, please? I've been so patient. Because I don't agree. I don't agree with corporate hegemonies. I'm just going to say that much.
No one thought you did. I'm going to raise my hand.
Well, that's why I don't agree with Soyato's solution, because that forms a corporate hegemony.
Okay. Okay.
Staxium,
I'll bite the bullet. I'll bite the
what
bullet.
she's
There
talking
is
about
no
the
way
state.
to get around this. There's going to be 5 cheeseburgers made when only one person eats it. I agree. I can't think of a better solution other than a planned economy, and those just fail because it turns out it's
when
really.
Someone wants it.
Yeah.
Wait, that's what we do. That's what we do. Wait, hold on. That is what we do, right? I've worked in a fast food restaurant.
Ideally, not really.
Wait, hold on.
Are you telling me you didn't work in a fast food restaurant?
Restaurants don't want waste. That's potential money that they got rid of.
Yeah.
In a restaurant, we were very careful when we pull meat out of the fridge. We wanted to make sure we used it as soon as we knew we had to, and pull it out every time and mark everything and pull it up as fast as as late as we can until people could, because profit, sure, but also we were trying to eliminate waste as much as possible. Now,
So you think-
yes, there
you
will
think
be
Eliminating waste comes into conflict
You
with
think
making
there will
money.
be waste.
You think
They're going to be-
45% of food is wasted because of legitimate reasons? That's your take.
Yes. Well, no. Kinda.
I'm telling you firsthand. I've seen
No,
the
no,
food
no.
that's wasted. I've
I
seen the
have
food that's
too.
wasted.
I said I worked at a fast
I
food restaurant.
dumpster dive. I didn't just work at a fast food restaurant. I dumpster dive grocery stores. I dumpster dive
I don't know what you're
pharmacies
trying to
and
get
shit like
points.
that.
I've thrown away food and it sucks.
Your
I agree.
experiences are limited, and I'm telling you, it doesn't just work that way.
I'm not disagreeing with with what you've seen. Yeah, dumpster diving, you'll see a shit ton of food waste. Absolutely, I'm not contending with your
Experience
numbers.
versus-
So it gets thrown out for a lot more reasons than what you're saying. Even
No, wait, hold
before
on. You
it
didn't
hits
demonstrate
supermarket
that. All
shelves.
you said was you dumpster
It's-
dive, meaning you saw
I
the
can
food
send
waste. You
you the
didn't see the
link.
reasons why it did.
45 damage to packaging, pre-food spoilage,
course,
therefore
of course,
lack
of
of
course.
taste.
Of course. Of course. But what I'm saying is, how do you get away from that? How do you get away from that? All I can think of is.
Did you realize that grocery
wait, hold on,
stores
hold on, hold on,
stockpile
hold on,
goods,
hold on,
right?
hold on,
They
hold
don't
on,
just
hold
buy it as soon
hold
as
on,
someone needs
hold
it.
on. I'd like to go. So here's the issue, okay? One, the only thing that I can think of really that's a solution to this is a planned economy, which we've seen fucking fails. As soon as any sort of government entity is like, you know what? I think one person's going to be there, so I'm going to tell that one person to just make that food. We see fucking scarcity like we've never seen before.
Starvation.
Absolutely.
It's
a
a
whole
bad
lot more.
solution.
It's disgusting.
Now, if there's an
100%.
alternative
But-
solution, present it.
Yes.
Alternative
Now,
solution, don't waste it.
What
That's
is-
not
what
a
does that mean?
solution.
How do you do
Yes, it
that?
is.
That's not
How
a
do
solution.
you do that?
Don't let companies throw things out due to damaging to packaging and all
Okay,
the.
I have a question. What do I do when I bought a bunch of meat and the meat
I'm
goes bad?
still
What do I do with
answering
it?
your goddamn question.
Oh, go
when we
ahead.
scale down production and logistics, so that way things go straight from the farm to the supermarket, we decrease the amount of steps through which food waste can happen, and the amount of stockpiling that causes things to be thrown out because they weren't sold to market in time. And when things are worker owned, then people have the better ability to take home food that couldn't be sold.
Wait,
So
hold
as I
on.
understand
My
it,
restaurants always.
just for my understanding.
I'm very happy
Let me
for you.
clarify this, Nine Tails, right? Just for my understanding, what you're arguing for is like kind of a closed, isolated system, which again, the food is produced, it is
Local
sent
scale
to
mosaic, yes.
the local store, and the local people buy it, and therefore it reduces the waste because there isn't these large, huge supply chains.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
basically it?
I got another take on this.
Carl, go ahead.
It would be like all of your products flowing along that production pipeline were on the blockchain and they were NFTs.
No, you lost me. So
No, it's got a point.
not
Except
following.
you do that, and so it's a perfectly efficient, computed economy. And then you take away the blockchain and implement it with a centralized server. And
you
it's called
just gave me a
Project
blue
Cyber-
screen of that.
economy.
You just gave me a blue screen of
And it's
that.
called Project
understood it
Cybersyn,
before you
which
spoke.
worked so
Like,
well we had to
Carl,
destroy it
I
with a coup.
understood what was being said
Okay.
before you made this analogy.
Right.
I understood it. Oh, she wants to get rid of globalized supply chains and make it a little more local closed
Right.
systems. I got that.
That was for Stacks, because Stacks thinks, it would never work. It could never work, except it did work until we literally destroyed it with American
Wait,
imperialism.
no.
Okay, hold on.
It
I have
was
a- I have
never
a-
actually implemented. You just had this thing running in a Mac laptop.
CIA was never
and you're like,
implemented, Seattle.
look, it did a few things. We were able to demonstrate that given these specific functions, some people would move in this specific way, and we were able to predict that. That's great. You have never tested that against human
Wait.
variability, which is
We don't-
extreme.
we don't
People
talk about the
wander
CIA
and do
in America.
random shit, and like it is so hard to track this, which is why we can't really have a planned economy. We kind of just need people to what's it called, like guess and check. Basically, that's how our economy works. We go, I think people need food around here, and then people don't show up, and they go, fuck, I guess I guessed this wrong. I got to go out of
It goes
business.
out of business.
That sucks. Like, and that is just the constant rotating symmetry. And like, I agree, it leads to waste. I don't see a better example. And as soon as you
1971.
have this idea.
1971, Fernando Flores implemented the basis for Project Cybersyn It reached prototype in 1972. Guess what happened in 1973?
You're telling me that a 1972 computer was able to compute the entirety of a globalized economy? That's
prototype.
what you're telling me?
We're talking about the prototype
Exactly.
for local
The computer
production flows.
itself
so we
ran
have
Local production
algorithms.
flows. So this
made
was
by
the
a
experiment
computer.
you wanted. This was the experiment you wanted. This was like the
No,
prototypical.
this isn't.
I wanna know what happened
so
in
it has to be a
1973.
perfect communist.
No, it needs to be
socialized
tested
economy,
against people.
or it's
Even though-
worthless. Or
even
it's
though
done.
capitalism isn't
Stop,
perfect.
stop. Everyone,
Even though
shut up.
capitalism isn't
Everyone,
perfect.
everyone, shut up. I want to hear Carl because I want this explained to me. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Project Cybersyn. You've been around Twitch politics. You've probably
Project
seen
Cyber-
$27 or Mike from PA run this fucking video 100 times. It is the computer system that an outside consultant was hired to implement for the state of Chile so that their communist, dirt hole of a country could modernize. Without the assistance, without so much assistance from the Soviet Union, because we had fucking blockades and American imperialists everywhere.
Certainly.
So 1971, they hired a guy to come do it. 1972, they started to prototype it. It was like, wow, this is really interesting. We're actually producing something here. And then CIA got him.
Okay, so he was.
I'm against the
We
CIA
don't-
doing
we don't
that.
talk-
If they are able to do that, I'd be interested in it.
We don't
Is that what you
talk
wanna hear?
about this.
I don't
we
even
We don't
talk
have
about
anything
the
close
CIA.
to what that is.
We don't talk
All
about
right.
the CIA and capitalist economics, okay? So I just want to point out something. You keep asking for examples of like where has communism done this? First of all, we're not communists. Second of all, what I will point out is that capitalism is a failed experiment. Expecting it to keep working is probably the most garbage thing ever. You're
If this
literally
is what
doing the
counts
same
as a
thing,
fail,
and
I need to
you're
go to
doing
college again.
You're doing the same thing and expecting different results.
I'm not
NPC.
expecting different results. I'm expecting us to invent or like innovate our ways out of problems.
Capitalism's been
And
innovating. It's been innovating forever now.
It's
Neoliberals.
correct. And we've been doing a great job. We've been
Neoliberal.
doing
No,
a
they
great
haven't.
job.
No, we haven't. Poverty is still
Wait,
like you
are
haven't.
we-
Poverty is still an issue, yes, but we are less impoverished than ever.
Poverty is gonna be-
You have.
Do you think that
No,
the
no,
world
no.
is better
I'm answering
today than it was
I'm answering
100
it.
years ago?
No, because look at homelessness, for
No.
example. This is a manufactured issue. You have
I don't disagree.
more unhoused. You have less unhoused people than empty, unused properties.
Oh my god.
Because of capitalism.
Wait, did she just?
Let me
God
finish.
damn
Let me
it.
finish.
Vacancy truth.
Let me finish. Because of capitalism's irreverent adherence to the ideology of private property, we can't help the people and actually provide
That's not
them
true. That's
their.
a false
You
statistic.
absolutely
There-
know what you're talking about.
You
No,
were just
stop.
talking
It's
about
impossible
human
anything
rights.
about this topic.
Wait,
Yes,
no,
it is
wait a minute.
impossible.
You were just talking about human rights, and guess what? I think housing is a human fucking right.
Okay.
I
guess
do
what?
too. That is a false statistic.
No.
The one
stop.
that you gave. Go ahead.
Well,
no, no,
let
you go.
Layman
You
handle
go.
this. Let Layman handle
It's
this.
such. I have
Layman's gonna
gone.
Let him do
Tell
the
me
stat.
if
No.
I'm actually- I'm more scared. I'm more
Let him do the-
scared of
let him do the
stat
stat.
scams.
Let him do the
Yeah.
stat.
Yeah, you should be.
Let him say the stat, and then after he speaks, can I speak, Wick?
Yes.
No, I'm
Okay,
an
good. Awesome. Paste. Go. Stack.
Okay, so Jesus Christ. Okay, so it is technically, if we want to use the exact like technical language, that there are, I think it's 1 to 20 ratio of homeless people to houses, right? But there are three main reasons why a house will be unhoused and not be on the market. Or sorry, three main reasons why something will be unhoused. The first. Okay, it's because it is dilapidated. It is unable to be sold.
So you're not disagreeing. You're just doing no true Scotsman.
No, you're just not letting him
No, I'm
fucking
saying it
finish.
doesn't do anything.
Let him finish.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
you already are because I've heard this
Let him
argument
finish.
before.
Shut the fuck up. Let him finish.
I've
dilapidated.
heard this argument before.
Let him finish.
Pause.
I've heard this
Let him
argument.
finish.
You know what's worse than a dilapidated house?
Let him finish.
You know what's worse than a dilapidated
My
house?
chat hasn't
No
heard-
house.
Stop. My chat
my
hasn't
God.
heard this argument, so let's stack
Thank
Teams make
you.
his
Thank
argument, then Layman
you.
piggyback on that argument.
No, I'm
and then-
responding.
And then afterwards, I promise you'll be able to respond to them.
They
But
haven't
you
heard
gotta
my
let them
argument,
finish.
so-
I will
I
mute
did.
you.
I've heard your
fucking
argument
show.
quoted out of a fucking million people. Oh my God, it's so unoriginal. Okay, yeah, there's a 20 to 1 ratio of housing people to unhoused people. Okay, three
You said
main
it's
reasons.
wrong,
Okay,
and
the
you haven't
first
even
is that
proven
it's incredibly. I'm getting into it. The first reason, it's incredibly dilapidated and not in the places where the homeless people are. Most of the time, most homeless people live in like really urban cities like San Francisco or things like that, but the dilapidated houses that are falling apart, that are unsuitable for living, that will literally kill people because there's like still fucking lead in the walls and asbestos, a whole bunch of shit like that. They're just like in Nebraska or something like that. They're completely completely. The second is that statistic also uses vacant lots, which means that they are for sale, but they haven't been moved into yet. So they're on the market. They're willing to be put in. And that 20-to-1 ratio, we actually want a lot of vacant lots because that makes the housing prices go lower. If we want people to afford housing and move wherever the fuck they want to, there should be empty houses everywhere. We should go point to an empty house and go, sick, I want to live in that one. Yeah. Let's live in that one. It's super cheap because there's empty houses everywhere. The third is second homes, okay? Those are also counted in that statistic. If you want to be against second homes, that's fine. I think it's kind of ridiculous too. I think that we should tax rich people and increase property taxes. I'm for that, okay? But this idea that we should just move people into just fucking houses, and the reason we can't is because there's conniving government officials who are like, but capitalism. It's completely nonsensical.
I do have a genuine question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you genuinely think that? Well, I'm just going to tell you right now, 11% of developmental properties in the U.S. and combined with vacant lots is unused right now. So we can.
You also live in Canada, and Canada, every fucking major city has like a 2%, 0.5 to 2% vacancy rate. It is way below.
No, we have so much unused.
And our housing affordability is.
You know how much unused land is here? It's incredible. Anyways,
that is irrelevant to what
I'm saying.
What I'm saying. You want to talk about converting parking lots? I'm all.
What I'm saying is that
cringe because they hurt the economy.
Only under capitalism is it unconceivable that people would naturally migrate to these unused properties. But in reality, that's just what people do. That's human nature to occupy unused property.
It's human nature to stay where you live and stay around your family.
So I want to see a world. I want to see a world. Let me finish. I just want to see a world where people don't have to pay for shelter. Period.
That's great. I'm going to tie this back into the topic now because Wick said that I could speak, so I'm going to fucking speak.
Layman, go ahead.
Yeah. So to tie this back into the topic, everything that you're saying about fucking homelessness and shit, everything that we do that allows homelessness rates to increase hurts GDP. It hurts economic growth.
That's so facts. Absolutely.
So for example. All the reasons why
where did I say to increase homeless rates?
I'm speaking, motherfucker.
Where did I say to increase homeless rates?
Shut up!
Then stop strawmanning me.
Shut up!
Let him talk.
I'm asking you to clarify.
But it's also Layman's turn.
Where did I say that though? Where did I say to increase homeless rates?
I didn't say that you said. I never even implied that you wanted to.
Don't let her distract you, Layman. Just go on.
And your whole framework is enough.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Your whole framework doesn't even hit me.
There's no framework I gave yet because you won't shut the fuck up and let me talk.
You can't even start with anything.
Shut the fuck up. Anyway, so it hurts GDP to allow homelessness to exist. The reason why is because the reason why houses are so fucking unaffordable is because we gatekeep the ever-loving shit out of the market and non-market housing development. We gatekeep the ever-loving fuck out of it, and pretty much every fucking economist that's looked into this issue agrees that this hurts the shit out of GDP. If you let people build homes for people and respond to housing demand, housing prices will go the fuck down. They will. People can afford rents easier, and people also have more freedom and less restrictions and regulations if they want to build non-market, below-market housing too, if nonprofits want to step in and do that too. So the idea that degrowth is going to help homelessness is ridiculous because we are already engaging in policies that hurt fucking economic growth, and it is making homelessness way fucking worse when it otherwise doesn't need
Right, because we have landlords who don't let people occupy the properties.
Wait, I thought it was all capitalism and growth.
Okay.
No,
yeah,
because of NIMBYs and
$10. Then I'll let.
I'm not done.
Growthers to go. Stop. Let me get my money, and then you can go. Then I want Carl and Ninetails to go. $10 from Zephyr Hash. Are you telling me there is an economy predicting computer invented in the 70s that got invented by Chileans, and no one in 50 years thought of it again, even though they would have been a trillionaire?
But the CIA would have assassinated them, Wick.
I mean, it requires vertical integration, which is not allowed in the U.S. It would be called a monopoly, unless you somehow permitted monopolies as long as they were nonprofits, and allowed them to have the resources to become monopolies in the first place. I mean, this is like chicken and the egg. Yes, you can't have a monopoly in America since Standard Oil. Standard Oil got the way it was because they were so enormously profitable. They kept buying up competing, businesses. But yes,
the FBI, the CIA, the IMF, NATO, they'll all come in and shoot you in the home.
You can't have a monopoly unless it's capitalistic. And then we made some monopolies illegal and permitted others, but they're still making profits. Anyway.
Okay, and
so go ahead, give your response.
I really
try to let her give her response, gang. Right? Don't.
No, I'm I've been getting a little bitchy at Layman because he's so funny when he gets mad. It's out of love. So I know the audience secretly wants it, you evil bastards. So anyways, I honestly love the housing market because it's the perfect example of not only the Gramscian notion of a hegemony, how we basically get fooled into buying something that's our basic need and that we would give it to ourselves if not for capitalism, but more importantly, that the housing market itself constantly hurts itself in its own confusion. What else is the housing bubble if not speculation-driven boom and bust cycle? Okay. Because of landlords.
No, that's a fact. It's not a bubble that's happening in Canada. It's a fucking shortage.
Because landlords.
No, wait, hold on. No.
If we didn't have a market, I'm not done. You just interrupted.
Yeah.
If we didn't have the markets to begin with, there'd be nothing to exploit, and we wouldn't have these up and down cycles.
Okay, Nine Tails. You live. I need to remind you where you live because you keep citing random parts of the U.S.
I don't care where I live.
It's irrelevant. No. It actually is relevant.
We're talking about
your experiences matter.
Your immediate fucking society.
Capitalism.
I thought your
just let me finish what I'm going to say.
When you're wrong,
Let me finish what I'm going to say. Star or Stacks, not Star. What the fuck?
It's okay.
Stacks. Nine Tails. Shut the fuck up for a second. Okay, so it is relevant where you live because in Canada, our housing is far more unaffordable than the US, yet our vacancy rates are way fucking lower than the US. If there were a bunch of landlords sitting on empty, vacant lots that are accounted for in all of that data, then there would be a huge fucking vacancy rate. But our vacancy rates in all of our major cities are way below what's healthy for a market. Healthy vacancy rates, so people can have some mobility to move places if they want to, is like between 3 to 5%, I think it is, or 3 to 7%. Somewhere in that range is what most economists agree with. Most of our cities, it's like 0.6%, between 0.6% to 2%. 2% is the most generous, where the least demand for homes is too. So the idea that landlords are sitting on fucking land is a problem. Now, if you want to say that certain landlords will go into city council hearings and try to engage in regulatory capture, so fucking new apartments that compete with theirs and don't grow the economy don't get built, that's true. But you know what that does? That hurts economic growth. It hurts it. It makes it worse. You can't grow economies if fucking markets cannot develop and you just let one person fucking sit there and jack up their fucking rents for a couple pennies.
So the unsustainability of the growth is this. I'm going to bring it back more to, because there's always an ecological side to this. We cannot, first of all, my city has more houses than it has people at the moment. We can only grow housing and development by sacrificing land, which we currently need to be
upzone.
What you do is you approve of infill development. So infill development.
I like that. I do like infill development.
I'm sure you do. That's why I'm saying this, because I have a feeling you'll agree with this. Infill development
to a degree
is regulated to shit and blocked by NIMBYs all the fucking time. And if we could have more and more infill development, that would be good for GDP. It would also be good for the environment. It has been proven, empirical study after empirical study, that that's the case. And it is a slam dunk fucking argument for our side and a slam dunk fucking argument against your side.
Although I will point out that infill development. No, please. I will. Just let me have one more response while we're on
Carl, this. I need to give it to Carl. Afterwards.
If there wasn't
a response, I need to give it to Carl. Carl's dying over here.
If this development was owned by the people rather than capitalists, then we wouldn't just see it going to people who can already afford to exist.
We already act like it's owned by the people.
I let you finish. it's not just NIMBYism. You're being reductive. Then we wouldn't have to worry about things like gentrification as well. You have to handle these things with more than just let's just build. The classism baked in these mechanisms is also something we need to change.
Carl.
All right. You're both right. I wish that YIMBYs and socialists could get along more often. We need reduction in permitting. We need permitting reform, and we need social housing. That's my position. We need everything. We need, just like we need degrowth to growth or green growth. We need it both.
Wait, what?
He's memeing.
No, I'm not. I'm serious. We need both.
No, he's half memeing. He's saying that like you degrow the fossil fuels over time to grow the green economy. He's memeing. He's doing.
That's just my position. Though. Okay, wait, hold on. I have a question though, Layman.
Okay.
If you're telling me that the landlords are hurting the GDP, then I don't get to press the capitalism button, and that's really what I'm just here for. So I'm confused. I'm lost. I feel frustrated. I just want to hit the goddamn button. So if everyone can just let me, all right. That's about it.
Socialism is when thrift store.
Okay, we have kind of
communism.
We've kind of circled the drain on this game.
Yep.
We've had it's been a discussion. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I want to thank everyone, all my guests here, and I want to thank my audience as well. My audience on YouTube, who's been so kind to donate their super chats. And we could use more kindness in the world, right? More super chats. It helps me do more of these kinds of shows, more of these kind of panels. And I want to thank my Twitch and my Kick audience for sticking with me too. I really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to give all these individuals a chance to have closing thoughts, closing statements, and then tell people where you can find them if you like what they have to say. But before we do that, let me give you a little sneak peek of next week. We have some interesting topics next week. So next week, Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, Blacktoid versus Black people. Blacktoid is going to come on and arguing that slavery was actually a beneficial thing, and no one benefited more than Black Americans. And I have assembled a team of Black Americans to challenge him on this, and we'll see how that goes. So tune in Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern for that. Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll be having a gentleman on who wants to argue that we should make porn for teens, preteens to be specific, and thinks that that's a good thing. So we will be challenging them on that. Next Friday, we will be having maids debate. Medical assistance in death. Is that a good thing? A bad thing? What is that? We should
you're Canadian.
We'll have an argument about that. It'll be fun.
Invite me on. I love talking about that.
I will toss it to Layman first, and then we'll go around. What's your closing statement? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had fun. Degrowth is still stupid. I think it's a ridiculous fucking idea. And I mean, Carl's a smart guy, right? Like, Carl, you're a great, smart guy. I love talking to you. You say interesting things, and I had fun talking to you. And Ninetales, I had a lot of fun talking to you. But god damn, you gotta stop shadowboxing, okay? Like, is capitalism in the room with us? I don't know, because I didn't use that word at all in the entire fucking conversation, and you just wouldn't just fucking stop hitting the fucking button. Socialism is when thrift shop. Just gotta throw in the memes before I go. If everybody liked hearing what I had to say, my name is Layman. I'm gonna put my YouTube and my Twitter in the Twitch chat, so you can go follow me there if you like my shit. And yeah, that's all that I got to say. Thank you for having me on, Wick. It's always fun coming on. And yeah.
I'm glad you had fun. Gang, check him out. He's great. Thank you for attending. This was fun and enjoyable. Next up, Ninetales. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to go counterclockwise. I wasn't ready. Hi.
Okay,
I'm
kidding.
I'm just
Okay, Ninetales, go ahead.
Everyone's memeing. I had to meme too. I'm Ninetales. Don't follow me actually, because apparently my takes are too hot for lay people. So what I'm going to say is that when you look at the transgression of things like the weather extremes around us, and how viable life is in the future, you're going to be like, hey, wasn't this everything that the scientists were telling us about, or is like some sort of point of no return? I'm just saying we need to do everything in our power to avoid that. And there's a very good chance it's coming a lot sooner than even our best researchers know, based on the trends. If you want to put your faith in regrowth, I'm an ecologist. I like regrowth. I like biodiversity. Make sure you learn about ecology. Make sure you learn about civil engineering and stuff like that. Those are all very important things. And the more leftists pick up usable skills, the more we can actually fight on the battlegrounds against capitalism. But my argument is that capitalism got us here, relying on capitalism to get us out as a fool's errand.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Check her out, gang. Ninetails Cosmic Fox on Twitch. Next up, we have Staxiums. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, so I think that this has been enlightening. I do feel like when pushed on which policies to implement, generally speaking, degrowth dissolves into I want a cheeseburger, 3D printers, intellectual property somehow, nuclear submarines exist, and above all else, the capitalism button. So, not to that. Now, you might say, "Hey, that seems like a straw man of their opinions," but it's my concluding statement. So I don't give a shit. I am Staxiums everywhere. I know how SEO works, so I don't have to go through all the characters. It's Staxiums basically everywhere. Please follow me. I have hot takes. I'm a big liberal supporter, and I fight with communists all the time.
Okay, I got called out and I can't respond, so I'm just going to quickly
It's my
say,
concluding statement. You're not allowed to.
I hate it. I made my name. I made my name to be anti-SEO.
Okay, cool. Are you done, Staxiums?
Yeah.
Check them out, Staxiums, all places. Carl, go ahead.
All right. Well, I was hoping to dunk on Ninetails, honestly, just a little bit. Thank you so much for being a good pro-energy comrade. And for anyone out there who believes in that traditional model of degrowth, this is for you. We just can't fuck over the global south when we degrow. Ecofascism is bad. We need to do so much. Part of the solution is universal voluntary family planning, elimination of poverty, energy access, education access. The just response to economic disparities is open borders and global labor organization, like an ombudsman, or hey, if we can't have that, maybe a workers' revolution. We need to balance ecology, labor rights, automation, AI. Yeah, we got to repurpose those nuclear submarines, and we got to eliminate that toxic idea that GDP is the measure of human happiness. We need these things to survive. Doing all this under an evidence-based methodology will lead to the literal degrowth of the power and product of capitalism. I think that's, even if you're a Democrat or a democratic socialist or a market whatever, we can get that done under your political viewpoint. We can restrict capitalism. That's degrowth. And maybe socialism can help as long as it's not that Malthusian, organic, non-GMO branded anti-science garbage. Thanks. 21 subs to go. Thank you so much. Eco-Modernist1 on YouTube.
Eco-Modernist1. Is that the number one or the spelled
that's
out
the tag.
one?
At Eco-Modernist1.
Okay, at Eco-Modernist1. Check him out, gang. Thanks again for being here. I'm going to send them all, and then I'm going to talk to you, chat, for just a moment alone. But I will send you all out. Bye-bye.
Don't leave yet. So,
yeah.
Are you live at the moment?
Oh, yeah. Let me mute.
After discussion.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. We can do after chats. Okay, so I'm going to stay live.
They're going to talk shit, Stacks. They're going to talk shit.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they're going to do.
No, I was going to say
some shit.
I was going to say you guys should come if you want to. If
No, that's okay. I have to do shit with my fiance.
Well.
So.
Oh my god, God! I was almost worried you'd take me up on that.
All right, I'll catch you both later.
Have a good night.
All right.
Are we? Yeah, are we dipping from? Usually there's like an after panel. Are we not doing that?
He's talking to
fucking
chat.
dipping.
Yeah.
I'm going. So see you.
Okay.
I'm down
I guess-
for. I'm down for. This is really tight. I got maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Maybe a mod will join here or something, and then I get to chat with them or something. Because I'm banned, I don't get to go in the other chat. I'm still banned.
What did you do? Oh boy.
Oh, I went hard on what was her name? Stabby. You've met Stabby by now, right?
You know what? I've had a super chaotic year. So no, probably.
This would
not.
have been last year, and I don't know if she's
No.
still here as well.
It-
She lashed out back, so it's
Okay.
possible. Do you want my camera for your stream, or are you just gonna?
It's fine.
Okay. Better on me. I get to get rid of this. This was a little bit warm. It's very cool out, but I couldn't get the wind flow I wanted because of this stupid arrangement I have with this door and this white block.
Woo.
I need curtains,
Yeah. I'm
but
actually
I also need a
rebuilding.
drill.
I'm rebuilding my studio. It's going to be amazing.
Okay. So what in particular, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wasn't listening because I had to take the thing off my head. I thought you might have been done though because it sounded like it. And
Yeah. So like, what in particular would I be?
disagreeing with me
Disagreeing.
on.
So you kind of touched on a lot of the history of the Green Party in some of your background material, and I consider the Green Party a big feature in the controlled opposition that's holding us back.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, no, I would say like I'm definitely pro direct democracy, especially when leftists own the means of production and the people, I should say, actually not just leftists. But you know, it's one of those like I don't want, like I could say the same thing for you. Like this would, like I could see Social Democrats and the Liberal Party taking, or I say liberal here, but the Democrats taking that up. So, you know, try like.
But specifically,
What did you think is not radical enough? Because we didn't get into electoralism, but I do think electoralism.
It's got to be practical, right? And this is more like my argument, especially with the Green Party, is like being anti-nuclear and being all about the vibes, and that's
well,
the solution.
anti-nuclear. Okay, so if you remember our discussion about energy probably last year, I came away saying I'd be willing to accept maintaining and upgrading our current facilities while not expanding nuclear.
Right, and that's an L.
Fine, I think that we can expand renewables in its place.
But that's being a tool for fossil fuels, because you know once you get past 30 to 40, once you get past 30 to 40% renewables, you're going to take a nosedive. No matter how much degrowth you do, you're going to have wildly fluctuating. Well,
that's why we need degrowth before we actually grow these solutions.
We need to
degrow our energy needs.
Yeah, right. You do. You need degrowth.
All right, I'm taking off, boys.
And renewables.
See you guys.
And nuclear. You need the.
I love you both.
The Trinity.
Have a good night.
You need all three.
Tell me you love me, Soy. Please, I need this.
I love you. In that you're such a good puppy for your capitalist overlord.
I appreciate that.
Such a good servant.
Peace out. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Your Führers would be proud.
Oh, imagining being a master of payroll systems in the Soviet Union.
Well, no, I'm not.
No,
I'm not advocating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not advocating for anything that could be remotely even like I referred to, because I really wanted, like, I knew that Lehman is or was a Destiny fan. And he probably remembers my debate with Destiny, where I sort of winged it and I didn't prep to challenge myself to debate on corporate hegemonies, and it kind of came out to be a bit of a stalemate. Not that stopped his fans from acting like it was a win, but so like I wanted to bring that up because the Gramscian notion of hegemony is not something I want to see happen. There's very much an issue with needing people to comply. I want direct action, which tears stuff down. However, I can't really advocate that without people being like, oh, equal terrorism. Well, no, that's not actually what I want, because I'll be the first to advocate that for anything we tear down, there needs to be something in its place, an alternative in its place.
Right.
What I'm hopeful about is downscaling a lot of these things. So look at, have you ever seen people who take streams and, like forests with lots of elevation changes, like lots of slope? And when you have enough pressure head, you can actually get like, yeah. Stuff like that is what we need more of.
Well,
instead of these large overscaled developments.
So we got to preserve either truly wild spaces.
Microhydro works with wild spaces.
Okay, not really wild spaces, because you have a human being there occupying that space. What's this talking? What's this, like a quarter acre, a half acre?
So I just want to point out that human occupation is not the same as ecosystem destruction. We can easily occupy ecosystems without destroying them, and all it takes is environmental consciousness. In fact, land stewardship will be the only way we get back from all the damage that we've done.
I think that we need to have urban densification if we are going to see a true return of biodiversity.
I think we have enough urban density, to be honest, but the development part where we actually advance the technology on the inside is what I agreed with.
Yeah, this is like straight up, you are straight up expressing the degrowth that I don't want to be a part of, because I think this idea that we can avoid all continued urban development and even degrow the cities, because if you look at Jason Hickel, that is a part of the books that he cites as examples of solutions, where he says, yeah, people will leave the cities because we need to de-intensify agriculture. They'll leave the cities and go into the suburbs where they have these homes that are like 2-3 times their current density, and you produce all of your food and energy on site in the suburbs. Sounds great. Incredibly difficult to achieve, and probably incompatible with the environments and the topology of most places.
No, what I'm talking about is things that scale locally, such that local demand creates local need, not global demand creates local need, or state demand creates state need. So therefore, you only need so many farms within a region as an urbanized center needs, and then everything else is naturalized.
Right.
So
we cut the number of hectares devoted to farmland in half, because we've eliminated all food waste, and we've localized it so that we eliminate, like, let's say 10% of global fossil fuel use. We still have to eliminate 80% of fossil fuel use, and we still haven't perfectly solved all those problems. So I agree with these things, but I think they're insufficient, and that's why we need intensified energy production from non-carbon sources.
Well, you know that the U.S. military is one of the biggest users of energy resources, right?
Yes.
Globally as well. Like there's almost nothing, like CERN, if you just count electricity, might take more, because it fundamentally has to.
Right. And that's why I'm able to sort of, I'm able to mess with the philosophical anti-communist degrowth on principle. It's just when it goes too far into.
I'm not anti-communist.
I'm getting tired. Anti-capitalist.
Oh, okay.
Because
there are anti-communists.
Yeah. When it takes the
Bookchin is even like mad at communists.
Into Green Party, into green fantasy, back to nature degrowth. That's my hard line.
No, I'm not advocating for that. I'm definitely advocating for technological enrichment. And so, for one thing, one of the things I want to see happen is, again, this scaling, but also the ownership, where a lot of our development and production is driven by maker spaces that aren't specialized for one sort of production line or another. People who have the means to just make whatever is needed, who have the skills. This goes back into your education stuff. By the way, for your audience that's listening, don't feel disempowered from giving yourself free education through the internet right now. Do that. And my personal advice is also find somebody who has gone through academia, who in the same thing, and can guide you through that medium on seeing, the scientific method, or like how engineers see the world and stuff like that. Because it's not always obvious when you just listen to lectures and stuff like that. But there are plenty of universities, including Indian universities out there, that have like just fully fleshed out lectures on things like engineering and STEM and even non-STEM fields. But the STEM fields are very fleshed out.
I'm right there. I'm expanding my skill set in lateral waves that might be detrimental to my career, but I can't.
I can so relate.
I can't do all of this in the same way anymore. But maybe I'll.
But here's the thing. Just like I've noticed that like I'm taking on multi-field generalization for like on-task specialization. So what that means is I'm not only taking in ecology, I'm taking in systems engineering, all the way from computer science into ecological systems and stuff like that. Plus I'm taking on music and stuff. So basically, since I'm doing social ecology, I have to study all the STEM, just all of it, plus psychology and the humanities and stuff like that. So there is no range to which like a lecture doesn't help me, although I'm definitely limiting what I expose myself to and when. Right now it's clamping down on signals and systems, and then it'll be neuroscience, then psychology and humanities. But the point is that when I am faced with a problem, I may not remember the algorithms. I may not remember blah, blah, blah. But I know that there's something I can do. I know how to find that method, and I know how to recreate it. That's what's important. I know, and when you listen to enough lectures and stuff like that, you also get a lot of firsthand experience from these people who have a lot of firsthand experience in the field. So, it's important to value that as well.
Yeah. I know that with things like AI and like these large language models that write code for you, there's going to be a big shakeup in tech, and I think having a lot of like
a world where we make
application
I'm getting
specific
excited.
experience is so much more valuable than learning one more language feature, than learning like how to write code in Rust or Go instead of JavaScript or Python.
A world, like, here's the thing, is like they were making the argument about needing capitalism, and maybe we did need like capitalism to accelerate to this point as fast as we did. But we are now at a point where we are steps away from a world that doesn't need to be capitalist, because we're all making the things we need. And this is all sub-automated to a point where you need the fewest amount of people to do things on the smaller scale as possible. But like, look at how many, like, look at the big, this is one of the things I wanted to say that I never got to. Look at the big high rises for all these big corporate hegemonies. And it's just people there to push around paper because of the scale of everything. That's all they exist for. They don't even have relationships with the product or anything like that. For all they know, the product is crap, the people don't like it, and the stores don't want to sell it. It's just being done because that's what has to be done. I want to see a social market relationship. Now, I'm not a market socialist. I want the money to become obsolete and barter to eventually become the norm. And not just barter, but altruistic barter, which, you can say that's optimistic or utopic, but I think capitalism is over optimistic and utopic. So whatever.
I know that at minimum, we need a radical overhaul of markets and market forces, and that's like at minimum required.
And as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And my thing is that, for me, it's not a matter of like, oh, well, there's so much, harm that could be done. There's already so much harm being done. We can only do more now. We can only do something differently. Now, my method for avoiding calamity from that is to have an experimental approach. Formulate a hypothesis, test it against something, and if it doesn't work, reject it or try it differently. Don't do what capitalism does, where it tries to force these debunked hypotheses into a market trend.
It's like a medical intervention where you see there's a disease and you find a treatment. That treatment is not free of risk, but it is better than letting the disease continue. And I apply this sort of the philosophy of medical intervention to many topics. I talk about how nuclear is a climate intervention. Yes, it has risks, but at the worst case, they are far better than the disease.
I think for me, I still see a better investment being not needing that scale of energy production to begin with.
Money. I'm memeing,
Yeah.
but really, when it comes down to it, let's break down our energy consumption.
Are we saying this has to work within the framework that we're talking about, capitalist democracy?
No. Even without it.
Because then I would agree with you. Because sometimes the only way you can I just quickly say, I will agree that sometimes you can only get politicians to take on something that is like a sustainable investment, is to say that this is a legacy project that you're going to be recognized for. They're going to put your name on a plaque and people are going to go out and visit that spot to see how fucking cool it was. And your name's going to be on the history of the development of this project. Those are the sort of things that right now gets like Democrats to sign on for things that otherwise are like, what? Like this seems insane. I don't want that scale, but I do want that sort of like, I want us to continue that tradition of taking on projects as a community, as a political body, for the legacy of it.
It is, I mean, not to talk past you, but I see how, like, in terms of political organizing, that's powerful and very valuable. But the what we choose to produce has got to be all of the above. My state hasn't produced a new wind deployment in a decade, and we might have one new wind deployment that is 100 megawatts. Like we're talking.
Wait, can you explain why? Because then to me it's like, then we just build more wind developments.
Well, there's property rights. There's agriculture. There's ecology, and wind has an ecology impact. And this is the other thing that I didn't get to talk about.
Okay, that's actually really interesting. Mm-hmm. That is really interesting. I am going to caution you against this, because there are so many other energy industries that have a much way worse impact on ecology than wind could. Mm-hmm. It's just that wind doesn't have a non-zero impact on the ecology around it.
And that's why I'm not against wind, because it is an intervention and it has a cost and a risk, and it should be deployed where it makes sense. And
it's more minimal than solar when you actually factor in mining.
There's actually research on. Let me look it up.
No, I can tell you why. Because the materials that we need to dope solar panels, while they're not in high concentrations, it is a much larger surface area than the stuff we need for the circuit boards in a wind turbine. So ultimately, pound for pound, we're mining much more for a solar panel, which is the same doping materials that you find in a microchip than we would need for a wind turbine.
I actually need to.
Now, if we're talking about composites, that can get a little bit weird. I don't want that.
There's literally a 2001-2002 study. There it is, March 2022 UNECE study on this, and I will DM that to you.
Well, what's the takeaway? I'll take it for granted.
I don't know. I mean, it's a complicated question. Oh. The one that I'm familiar with is that all renewables and nuclear and hydro are better than all of the fossil fuels, even with carbon capture.
We agree there.
Except for land use, where Coal is actually surprisingly low, unfortunately.
Yeah, which makes sense thermodynamically, right? Because it
Right.
does have the most energy packed into it, and you're doing an exothermic process where you're actually taking some like stored energy and releasing it, versus capturing energy.
Yeah, and so yes, but it's also, it depends on all of the inputs, and if you go through, this is such a heady read. I'm looking for
Yeah.
the nice friendly charts, and they're way
Just
way,
read the
way down.
abstract, dude. Just read the abstract.
Life cycle,
Only a nerd
greenhouse
goes straight to the
gas,
charts.
life cycle eutrophicizing emissions. So eutrophic is that you're making a water source bad. And
That's so weird. That's not what that means in ecology.
is it okay?
Okay, no, it is. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the overgeneralization that caught me.
Eutrophying. What does it technically mean?
Because we're adding fertilizers to it and increasing the amount of metabolism that's happening per unit volume of water and decreasing the amount of oxygen available.
So it decreases the biodiversity in it in general.
Because your carrying capacity of the system goes down as a single species dominates and oxygen decreases. So the species that dominates will be the one that can handle that decrease in oxygen and sequester that pollution the best.
I will familiarize myself with the technical definition of eutrophying.
Trophic means like to eat, and so eutrophic is like lots of eating, versus oligotrophic, which is not very much eating.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can share this and hopefully don't crash.
There's also mesotrophic, which is kind of like your baseline.
Yeah.
Or I think it's slightly above baseline. Is it slightly above? I don't remember.
So
I have to accept that.
So yeah, so
it says there it is.
Yeah. So these are the fun charts. A life cycle of greenhouse gas CO2. Where big hydro is slightly bad, small hydro is wonderful, nuclear is wonderful, concentrated solar is pretty good, photovoltaic is largely great, wind is even better. And then there's here the eutrophying emissions where only...
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect that from nuclear at all because it's just steam.
Right. And then we go down, where is it? Okay, here we go. Human toxicity potential, where...
Right, and again, radiation is not toxin.
So natural gas... Well, no, this includes radiotoxicity.
Okay, but still, I don't expect that to be high because our technology is fine for capturing this stuff. Right. My problem is the land usage, land occupation.
Potential carcinogenic.
Really, it's that low. I can't believe it.
Here we go. Life cycle land usage. And here is fossil fuels take up a bit, gas a hell of a lot less than nuclear. About even with nuclear. Large scale hydro is very big. Small scale hydro still 3 times as much as nuclear. And concentrated solar, horrible. And wind is surprisingly low. So yeah, you're right there. Wind is better than solar for land use.
Okay, I heard you had to go. So I just want to say something really quick, which is I still think that we can remove our need for large scale energy like nuclear by both enhancing what we have and reverting to or changing to having local energy grids that are more dependent on local power generation, such as micro hydro. Of course, I couldn't remember that when I needed to, solar and stuff like that. People will be, installing this stuff into their own properties, and I think that will make your argument for our need for it more and more obsolete.
I mean, that is a gamble, and let's be sure. If you think we can, that's sort of a question of.
So it's creating these land formations that we can't change back very easily.
Well, treat it this way: your personal energy use over the entire course of the year in, let's say, 15-minute, like it's internet usage, in 15-minute increments. And
Right.
you take all of that, and if you can't serve each slice of energy from something produced within 8 hours, then there's no battery in the world that will serve you. And you have to
by the way,
decide to eliminate.
there is
that-
actually.
no,
there's
like
water
there's pumped
storage.
hydro.
Yeah.
There's what? Yeah, okay.
I know it's not efficient, but it's a
No,
fantastic method.
It's efficient enough. It does not exist, and also remember that chart.
It does.
Not
my-
enough. Not enough for
Yeah,
8 to
no,
10
we
billion,
agree
to 8 to 10 billion people.
We agree there, and I think we also agree that the technology itself needs to become more efficient. That we consume and consumes energy, and that we need to consume less electricity and do better. Like this whole streaming stuff, I try to use as few lights as possible, but it's still a lot of light, and there's a lot.
Do you wash your
a lot of
clothes
personal
by hand?
sacrifice. Actually, yeah, because of my agoraphobia and because I don't like laundromats.
Okay, all right. Well, you're the first
just
person.
by chance.
You're the 1st
I'm-
person to say yes.
No, honestly, my weed smoking habits are not helping the environment. So
Yeah.
this
And
butane lighter, I mean, it is a torch, so more of the heat energy
Alright.
goes straight into the bulb.
Well, I do need to go. I need to see if I can
Right.
make sure I make my next meeting. So,
Alrighty, have a good
Awesome.
one. It's nice chatting.
good convo. Thanks. See ya.
Catch you later.
All right. I'm out, everyone. Bye.